More stalling, let's get into the story. In the beginning, we're dropped into a totally desolate wasteland, with monstrous creatures swarming the skies and a volcano erupting in the distance. A few survivors watch from a hilltop as one of them says, "It's coming." And yeah, that thing is getting closer. It has dragon wings and the face of a demon. And it's not alone, it's riding a massive dragon, which the group's leader identifies as the Dragon King, a truly colossal beast. He calls it Gornil. The girl behind him says, "It looks like the centaur's nest has fallen, meaning there's nothing left for them to defend." The Signo Knights, the Resistance, the Cross Hunters, every adventurer, including the 6 heroes people saw as their last beacon of hope. They're all dead, and their leader is the only one left, the last adventurer, El Palm. And so he rallies them. This is it, their final adventure, facing down a gigantic dragon ready to swallow them whole. He immediately unleashes a fire spell, but a short time later, the battlefield is nothing but scorched earth. Palm is a wreck, completely broken, bleeding out, with the bodies of his comrades scattered across the ground. But right in front of him, the Dragon King lies dead, defeated by the boy. He wonders if this is the end for him, but then another dragon appears in the sky. It's a 3-headed beast, with one head freshly severed. But as Palm watches, the head he just cut off begins to regenerate, and he realizes it was all for nothing. The dragon dives toward the boy one last time, but he has no strength left to fight. He just closes his eyes, accepting his fate. This is the end of the world, and the end of his adventure. But then he slams his fist into the dirt, furious, thinking this whole destiny thing is garbage. He can't believe this is how it all ends, isolated and dying full of hate. He remembers watching his friends die, one by one. Philip, Jaiden, and Alexis too. He whispers that they all sacrificed themselves, then lets out a raw scream of rage, refusing to accept this outcome. He forces himself to his feet and glares at Gornil, thinking it can't end like this. He gathers every last drop of his mana for one more attack, declaring that no matter what, he's going to end this. But the arrow of fire he was summoning above his head shatters as he's impaled right through the stomach. Blood pours onto the ground as the dragon takes its chance, preparing another blast of fire for the boy. As the torrent of hellfire rushes toward him, he thinks he's just a pathetic piece of crap and wonders why it had to end this way. If only he had been stronger. If he just had one more chance, things would have been different. But then, someone throws water in his face and he jolts awake, realizing he's no longer facing a dragon. He has no idea where he is, wondering what the hell is happening. A man tells him that playing sick won't work, saying a slave needs to know his place. The protagonist is totally lost, asking where Gornil is and why he's even alive. But then, he recognizes his surroundings. He realizes he's been in this place before. Looking around at the cages and the people, he knows it's the slave market. No freaking way. The slave market was abolished ages ago, but this is definitely the same place. And the slaver, if he remembers correctly, is the merchant who was in charge of him years ago when he was still a slave. It's a perfect match. It hits him. He's gone back to the past. But the bald guy, seeing the kid just staring blankly, gets pissed off, asking what he's looking at as he winds up for a punch. And Palm narrates that on that day, he was sent back to the starting point of his entire story. After taking the hit, he wonders if he's dreaming, but it feels way too real. He just got punched. After all, he can't believe it, but there's no other explanation. Just then, another man from the slave market leads a group that looks like pirates over, saying all the slaves here are perfect to be used as bait. He tells them to pick one, assuring them they're in good condition since they were caught recently. The white-haired guy says he'll take 2. Palm, after a moment, realizes he doesn't need to overthink it. This is his second chance. But rewinding a bit, before our main character even woke up, a group of pirates had just arrived in the city, one of them thrilled to finally be there. A girl in a bunny outfit says that once he does her a little favor, she can buy some potions. Another guy is hawking fish nearby. And one of the younger guys in their crew is ecstatic to be in the port city of Elite. The white-haired guy asks if Raymond is really that happy. He asks Walter if he isn't just as excited as he is. The whole crew is buzzing with energy, because this is the start of their adventure. This was known as the Age of Adventurers, and adventurers from all over the world were creating their own legends and becoming heroes of their own stories. They head to a portal. Beyond these mysterious gates that had suddenly appeared across the globe, there were all kinds of terrifying monsters you'd never find in the Maple world. Countless adventurers died inside those portals, but the unbelievably valuable and powerful items found within drew in anyone who dared to dream big. But Walter says they need some bait, which throws everyone off. He explains they can't make a solid plan until they know what's waiting inside the portal. Too many adventurers had died because of unexpected variables, and that's exactly why they need a slave to act as a decoy. The ninja-like girl in their group figures they need someone to draw attention while they escape, calling it a solid plan and agreeing with him. They head to the slave market, commenting that the merchandise looks pretty good and worth the price. And so, Walter decides to buy 2, one of them being our protagonist. He hauls them both to the portal and says they'll mark the pillar to let others know they've claimed it. Looks like no one else is inside yet. That means they'll be the first ones in. He looks back at his friends and asks if they're ready. They all agree, stepping through the portal with the slaves in tow, but our protagonist immediately senses that something is off about this place. When he looks up, he sees a mysterious forest filled with giant mushrooms. He's never seen a place so bizarre. It's completely different from what he'd imagined. But Walter tells them not to be so nervous and motions them forward, saying portals usually form far away from monster habitats, so it should be clear for now. He then adds a warning, saying they can't use the same portal to get out, and that they'll have to find an exit portal first. But just as the ninja girl looks back, a monster lunges out of nowhere and sinks its teeth right into her torso. Everyone freezes, shocked that a monster was right there. They scream, "Charlotte!" But the girl is already being chewed up, and they realize they're completely surrounded by more of those humanoid monsters. Walter reacts, firing an explosive arrow straight down one of the monster's throats. He screams that something's wrong, telling them to tie the bait to the trees because they have to get out of there. But just then, one of the slaves tells them to wait, saying he wants to escape with them. But the big guy just tells him to shut his mouth and do what he says. And with that, our boy mutters that he's sorry, leaving the two behind. The other slave just keeps begging not to be abandoned. They just make a run for it. The other slave is caught almost immediately, and the creature turns its attention to our protagonist. Meanwhile, the four adventurers are running for their lives from the monsters. Walter is carrying a wounded Charlotte, screaming that they failed and that clearing the dungeon doesn't matter anymore. They have to hurry and find the portal exit, but everyone is on edge and Reynolds can barely think straight. The big guy grabs him by the collar, yelling at him to get a grip. He tells him to do what Walker says and calm down, insisting that even though they failed this time, they can always prepare and try again. So he can't give up. He has to focus on the present, promising that they're all getting out of here alive. But another one of those monsters appears, proving him dead wrong. It smashes the big guy into the ground, killing him in a single hit. Walker screams Taryn's name, but he's already gone. Nothing left but a mangled hand reaching for the sky. Reynolds completely loses it and starts screaming. Walker tries to do something, anything, launching another fire arrow. But this monster shows it has more than just its fists, shooting out a frog-like tongue that wraps around Walker's neck and yanks him into its mouth. And just like that, he's finished too. The only one left is Reynolds, who runs away screaming for help, but the monster is right on him, ready to devour its final meal. When it grabs his leg, he panics, feeling it being torn away. That's when he looks up and sees the bait he left behind. Our protagonist. "You're alive!" he yells. "Quick, help me! Everyone else is dead. It's just us two now," he begs, saying he's sorry for what he did, that he didn't want to do it. He whines that he can't get out alone, and that it's better to have more people. "So please," he begs, "you have to help me." But our protagonist just stares back at him with completely cold eyes. Reynolds gets desperate. Instead of just standing there watching, "Do something," he curses. But our hero just cracks a tiny smirk. He walks a little closer, saying, "I don't know. Seems like I'm a little late. Looks like you're fated to be torn in half." But Reynolds uses his last breath to laugh and curse the protagonist. "You really think you'll get out of here alone? You're next." The monster, however, finishes the job, chewing him up until only an arm is left hanging out. Now, it turns its gaze to the protagonist and charges. But the boy just says, "I'm not dying here," and attacks the beast. He grabs a staff off the ground for his fire arrow skill, noting that a low-tier skill is perfect for his current ability level. But he thinks that this isn't enough. An adventurer needs more than a single weapon. Otherwise, there was no point in coming back here at all. Then, he spots a foot nearby. He remembers that some guys hide valuable items in their shoes. And sure enough, he finds a ring. It glows on his wrist, and he realizes it's a telekinetic ring. Just then, he hears more monsters approaching from all sides. He's surrounded. He can tell they're drawn to the scent of blood. The creatures lunge at him, and the protagonist begins to take them down with ease. One of them shoots its tongue at him, snatching the spear from his hand and snapping it in two. Our protagonist looks surprised for a moment, but the monster behind him is instantly stopped by a fire arrow. The boy calmly kills that monster and decides to test out his new ring. With a thought, the arrow he launched is controlled by the telekinetic ring, zipping through the air and slaughtering all the monsters around him. With a single arrow, he wiped out everything that was hunting him. He knows he can't keep this up for long, and some of the remaining monsters, seeing his power, actually look scared. He thinks it doesn't matter, but then senses something and dodges an attack just before it hits him. He realizes his fire arrows aren't working. He looks at his staff, but it doesn't seem broken. He wonders if the skill is on cooldown. Just then, another monster attacks from the side. But our boy decides to go primal, simply beating it down with the staff. Realizing he has no choice, he goes on a rampage, crushing monsters with pure brute force. He wonders how many are left, right before he's able to activate one more arrow. He launches it towards the horde. It kills the first one, then zigs and zags, wiping out every last monster that was chasing him. And then, the girl who was bitten at the beginning speaks up. Realizing he's not just some ordinary slave, the protagonist is surprised she's even alive. She starts talking about what she saw, his mastery with a spear and with magic. "Who are you?" she asks. He thinks to himself that she was lucky, or maybe unlucky would be a better word. She then asks why he has that staff, and points out the item on his wrist. "How did you awaken your powers when you're just a slave?" Then she asks, Did you plan this entire disaster?" But the protagonist just looks at her and asks, "Are you done talking?" She's confused. He apologizes, but says she's got it all wrong. "Nothing would be different even if I had planned it. I would have killed you all anyway." "What kind of crazy talk is that?" she gasps. And our protagonist simply says, "I absolutely despise people who use slaves as bait," as he prepares a fire spear aimed right at her head. Sometime later, back in the city, everyone is stunned. A bait slave returned on his own. Our protagonist walks through the crowd thinking, "The die has been cast. I have to hurry to prevent fate from repeating itself. First, I have to set myself free." In front of one of the authority buildings, a man named Abes is shocked that a slave returned alive. His subordinate confirms it, saying he apparently came back without a single scratch. But Abe's questions what's so strange about that. It's not unheard of for someone used only as bait to return safely. But the subordinate replies that every adventurer he was with died inside the dungeon. Abe's is shocked. So he's the only one who came back alive? That is definitely strange. And on top of that, he didn't run away. He walked back on his own 2 feet. They say people who are forced into slavery because of debt will just end up as bait again, even if they return. And yet, he didn't flee. That means he knows he can't escape their reach so easily. The only way out for people like him is death. Abe's then asks if this is how the Garf Merchant Union deals with slaves. He demands to know why he had to hear a report on something so trivial. The man says there's something else to report. That slave unlocked the first circle. Abe's is even more surprised. A bait slave who's now at the first circle. He realizes a slave like that would harbor a lot of negative feelings toward the Merchant Union. If something goes wrong, this could get very bad. The subordinate adds that he requested a change in his contract. Abe's questions this, learning that the slave wants to be registered as an adventurer. Abe's is completely stunned. A slave with no rights dares to demand something like that? He remarks that the boy clearly doesn't know his place, but the subordinate reports that Hakan himself ordered him to personally handle this matter. Abe's is shocked that the order came directly from Hakan. An executive of the Garf Merchant Union is taking an interest in a low-class slave? He thinks to himself, it can't be because of that. As his subordinate leaves, he thinks about the bait who wants to be an adventurer, completely baffled. It's said that under Empress Cygnus, the status of slave shouldn't exist, but that's just empty talk. In this world, humans were always slaves to one thing, meso, their currency. If they couldn't pay back what they borrowed, they paid for it with their own bodies. And this entire system was propped up by the so-called collateral slaves. The day his only family, his father, died from illness, our main character became one of them. The black moss he bought on credit from the Merchants Union was all it took. The union jacked up the price to an insane 1,000 meso, sealing his fate. And so, at a sham of a trial, they declared that the accused, having failed to pay 1,000 meso, was sentenced to work off his debt for the Merchants Union. The boy's life was officially over. He says that's how he was exploited for 6 long years. But now, it's time for his revenge. And so, he stands face to face with a man named Abe's and introduces himself as Palm. Palm says he still remembers Abe's name. He's the left hand of Rakan, a union executive. A real big shot. Abe smirks, asking if he's here to change his contract. He says he's already seen the report, so he'll cut to the chase and change the contract to a rank F adventurer. Palme is shocked that he agreed so easily and starts to thank him. But something nags at him. Just as he thought, Abe's is being way too cautious about this. But the kid isn't biting. He declares he wants rank A, and he has zero intention of playing their little game. Abe scoffs. Rank A is a joke. The Adventurers Association hasn't even given him a rank yet. But the kid fires back that he's explored nearly 100 portals during his 3 years as bait. Abe's just sneers, saying that only makes him an expert at being bait. He's never even killed a single monster. The boy counters, since when is hunting monsters a virtue for an adventurer? Abe's has no idea what he's talking about. Palme explains that the very first adventurer made a name for himself through survival. The true virtue of an adventurer is returning alive, especially when the intel a survivor brings back is worth more than any single accomplishment. Abe's admits he has a point. He's not wrong. Surviving as bait for 3 years. That's definitely not some ordinary feat, but that's all he is. He's only ever been in low-rank dungeons. He asks if Palm really thinks his pathetic survival skills will work in high-rank portals. Abe starts thinking the kid must see them as complete idiots. Idiots who would approve a risky contract for someone who might die before paying off their debt. He thinks the kid is a total lunatic. With his skills, he'll be dead before he can even take 3 steps. And yet, Abe's can't shake this disgusting feeling he's getting. He tells him about a portal where only 5 people can enter, a portal that holds 12 marks. That's right, the bones of the last 12 parties are buried there. He tells the boy to prove it if he's as talented as he claims. If he can make it out of that portal alive, he'll get whatever he wants. Sometime later, the boy is standing with a group of other adventurers. They ask if the newbie is coming with them. Cheve introduces himself as the party's tank, saying it's a pleasure to meet him. He mentions he heard about him from Abe's, that he was bait, but he doesn't care about that stuff. He tells him not to worry. His teammates feel the same way. Palme says he hopes they can work well together. One of the guys immediately starts sizing him up, saying they heard he can use fire magic, and the boy confirms it. The other guy asks what he means, questioning if his magic element is already set. He heard mages can't use elemental magic different from the one they were born with. Apparently, that means any item unrelated to their element is useless to them. They think it must be pretty tough. But Cheve tells them that's enough chit-chat, saying he must have heard the briefing. For this mission, their goal isn't to hunt monsters. It's to return safely with the items from the 12 parties that were wiped out before them. They just have to return the items to the Union. He heard they're offering 3,000 meso for each item, but the guy with white hair asks if they're being too blatant. They won't get anything if they can't bring the items back. And items for First Circle adventurers are worth 7,000 meso or more. This isn't even half the price. But his companion tells him to stop complaining. He snaps back, saying he never complains. Sheva finally puts an end to it, asking if they're ready, and rallying them to go make some cash. Inside the portal, they notice it's bright, but feels incredibly depressing. Cheve tells everyone there's a high chance of a long battle in the dense forest, so they're going to set up camp first. One of them suggests a spot near a huge tree, since all the branches make it easy to hide and move to other trees. He says it's not a bad spot and gets ready to head over, tossing up ropes and gear to build their base. That same guy tells Palme he can just rest, saying setting up camp is that other idiot's specialty. And just like that, after setting up a well-made treehouse, they announce the base is done. They'll split into 2 groups to search the area. Tom, Max, and Rua will be Group 1, searching east and west before returning. If anything happens, they're to send a signal and run back to base. Everyone agrees. And so, Chev heads out with Palm. He wonders why they haven't found a single monster, let alone an item. He questions if they set up camp too early, thinking they'll have to move farther out tomorrow. Besides that, he asks Palme what he thinks of his first mission as an adventurer. Palme lies, saying he feels nervous. Cheve laughs, telling him that's normal, and starts a conversation, saying he's been an adventurer for a long time. And yet, every step he takes inside a portal still makes him nervous, admitting he's always been a scaredy cat. But more than that, he says he can find courage because he has people by his side. It might sound weird to praise them, but they really are good people. He says he felt really sad when he heard his story. As bait, he can only imagine how tough it must have been. On that topic, he asks Palm if he'd be okay with joining their party. But Palmy stops right there, sensing something strange. Cheve notices and says he wasn't being serious, telling him not to worry about it. But Palme's eyes are fixed on a footprint on the ground and some moss. Later that night, as they sit around the fire, one of them tells everyone to stop talking about work while they eat. They can talk about it tomorrow. Palme just keeps quietly drinking his water. Late into the night, they go over to Palme to see if he's asleep. Everyone is awake, except for the boy. Palme is only pretending to be asleep. And that's when Tom asks what the captain is doing, revealing his true intentions. He says the kid is lost in dreamland, asking how he could have possibly responded. He tells Chevy he's being way too cautious, asking if he forgot they mixed something into his food. That sleeping herb could even make a 100-kilo mother mushroom pass out. Tom says he chugged so much of it, he'll be lucky if he's not dead. He then asks, "Where's that fire arrow staff? That thing is worth almost 10,000 meso." He gets ready to kill the boy while he sleeps, saying, "It's time to get to work." Who would have thought the friendly little group was nothing but a pack of scheming scumbags? Who would have guessed? Who could have imagined it? But as he drives his dagger into the sleeping form, he feels the wrong texture. He rips the blanket back, only to find a log. The kid was long gone. The assassins are stunned. They insist there's no way he could have escaped. Chev orders them to find him, growling that he can't have gotten far. But just then, a massive explosion erupts right behind them, sending everyone flying as the entire tree goes up in flames. They scream out, "What was that? Why is everything suddenly on fire?" Panic sets in. They have to move fast to grab the food and items. One of them wonders if this is Palme's doing, but just then, the tank screams Chev's name. He questions what's happening now, only to see a colossal monster with a single gigantic eye looming before him. He wonders if Palme led it here, then starts cursing the kid, realizing they were used as bait. Every last one of them leaps from the burning tree just in time, narrowly escaping the jaws of the multi-eyed beast trying to devour them. Meanwhile, Palm watches from a safe distance, thinking how ridiculous this is. If they wanted to fool him, they shouldn't have been so kind. A portal where 12 veteran adventurer groups had failed, and they just accepted a nobody like him as bait. It was obvious they were plotting something. But then he sees the area's boss monster. He says he expected this based on the corrosion he'd found earlier, but this thing is much bigger than he could have imagined. The monster continues its rampage, clearing out the entire forest. Chev realizes that this type of creature puts them at a crippling disadvantage. The tank asks if he knows what it is. Chev confirms his worst fears, saying if he's right, that's a golden slime, something not normally seen in the maple world. It's a rare boss that only comes from red portals, and its body is pure acid. For melee-focused adventurers like them, this was the worst possible enemy they could face. He tries to warn them about its most dangerous ability, but before he can, he screams for everyone to dodge. A moment later, he's nearly hit by a golden glob from the creature. He asks what that was, realizing the monster has a long-range attack too. He explains that it's the acid arrow, a skill letting it fire acid from its body. The tank screams, "Isn't that basically cheating? My friend, in the jungle, anything goes." But Chev just yells that it's coming, and for everyone to get back in formation. But then the tank asks how they're supposed to handle that thing, and if there's even anything they can do. And so, Chev lays out a plan. They'll retreat for now, since the acid arrow should have a 1-minute cooldown. They'll recover, find an opening, and aim for the core in its head. Max grins as his ability comes off cooldown, turning to face the monster. But Chev calls out, telling him to wait so they can attack together. Max just scoffs and says to leave it to him as he leaps toward the creature. And so, as he gets close to the beast, Max is sliced clean in two by its arrow. He stares in disbelief, wondering what's happening. There should have been 10 seconds left on the cooldown. My friend, the deaths in this manhwa are absolutely brutal. The author doesn't pull any punches as the monster stares them down. It then unleashes a volley of mucus on them all, and the entire backstabbing crew is completely decimated by the acid. The protagonist notes that it looks like it's over, telling Chev that his words weren't wrong. However, a golden slime gets stronger based on the items it eats, and its ability cooldown decreases as it powers up. Its size is abnormal, and the recharge time on its acid arrow is almost non-existent. Now he understands why the previous groups failed. This thing has surpassed its own class, growing so much that it's at the level of a yellow portal 2 ranks above a red one. He declares that this is no longer a monster a First Circle adventurer can handle. He's certain there are no items left in this dungeon. It seems the mission has failed. He remembers Abe's telling him to prove himself. With that, Palme charges toward the slime. The slime continues to shamble along until it senses something approaching. The protagonist's fire arrow hits it, blowing one of its eyes apart and sending goo flying everywhere. The slime feels the pain of its lost eye. Palme wonders if it's because of magic resistance, since he's sure he aimed right for its core, but the monster doesn't seem to have taken much damage. He concludes that if that's the case, 4 more shots should do the trick. However, looking at the situation, he thinks again and realizes he needs to land at least 5 shots. He thinks that it doesn't matter and that he'll just prove to Abe's he can do what needs to be done. The monster then fires an acid arrow at Palm, but he calmly disappears from its sight. The creature keeps firing its arrows at the protagonist, but even while flying through the air, he keeps dodging and uses his telekinesis ring, thinking he has to hit the exact same spot, with no margin for error. But he knows that an ordinary man wouldn't even think of doing something like this. However, he is no ordinary man. One of the titles he held in his previous life was the greatest telekinetic, and so, he uses his fire arrow along with that attack. Once again, he hits the same spot on the slime and thinks that he needs 4 more shots. The slime launches its shot at the boy, who starts running through the trees to escape with everything he's got. He grabs a rope and throws another fire arrow, hitting the same spot again. He thinks that he needs 3 more. The slime gets more and more enraged, attacking the protagonist with everything it has. But the boy continues to dodge, even in midair, preparing to launch another arrow. And with it, he hits the same spot. Now there are only 2 shots left. He continues to use his telekinesis on his dagger to stay in the air and launches another fire arrow. But the monster dodges. He realizes that for its size, it's pretty fast, but he thinks it's useless, once again grabbing the fire arrow that missed and attacking the monster in the exact same spot. And so, its core becomes visible, and with that, the protagonist appears right above the creature and goes straight for the final attack. However, the slime is no fool and sees that the protagonist is close enough, creating a hand to grab the boy. As it brings down its hand to swat him like a mosquito, the protagonist looks back, then activates his ring. With that, the dagger sticks into the ground, pulling him out of the path of that massive hand. The moment he lands on the ground, he activates his fire arrow once again towards the monster's face, but the slime puts its hand in front to protect itself. Palme just smiles as the arrow heads toward the hand, but then it makes a beautiful curve right in front of it, hitting the core exactly. The nucleus explodes, and the monster despairs as it dissolves. Palm takes advantage of the monster's defeat to get out of there. After all, that mountain of acid has to go somewhere, and it turns into a tsunami headed right for the boy. He once again grabs his dagger, uses his telekinesis, throws it high, and is dragged up into a tree, escaping the acid bath. The boy looks back, seeing that a large part of the forest was decimated by that thing. As everything melts around him, Palm descends, walking through all the filth, and finally finds what he was looking for. He sees the creature's core, grabbing it with telekinesis, and bringing the nucleus he finally obtained into his hand. The object shines brightly in the boy's hand until he manages to use its power to create a shield around himself. And just like that, he exits the dungeon, returning to stand before Abe's, who can't believe what has happened. Abe's realizes that it seems the boy wasn't just showing off after all, but he thinks there's something strange here, since he came back alone again, and without the item he was hired for. However, the boy says that the ones he put in his group were amateur hunters who plotted to steal his items. And when he left to avoid them, they encountered the boss, and it seems they all died. Abe's is surprised that they died to the monster. A gold slime, he stated. Abe's mind reeled. If that thing was in there, then every single item inside that portal was melted into slag. The kid confirmed it, and Abe's was pissed. All that rented gear from the Merchant Union was completely destroyed, a loss he couldn't just ignore. But the real problem was that this kid actually came back alive. See, there are some hard rules when it comes to portals. First, there's a strict head count, and only the number of people marked on the entrance pillar can go in. After that, the gate locks down until every last person inside is wiped out. And second, there are entry limits based on the gate's difficulty and a person's circle level. The difficulty levels are color-coded, from red to purple. Anyone with a circle level higher than the gate's rank can't get in. And third, you only get one shot, which is the biggest pain when dealing with these things. If someone who enters actually survives and gets out, the portal they used shatters, gone forever. So, if the adventurers inside don't die, there's no second chance to run that portal. Abe's knew the gate was a lost cause. Honestly, a gold slime was way out of a First Circle Mage's league. He sighed, saying he understood that only the kid made it out alive. And since all the gear melted, he gets why he couldn't return it. But, he continued, no matter the reason, the fact is, you failed. The kid just smirked. You're pretty patient, Abe's. I'm not finished explaining yet. He had no idea what the kid was talking about. Then Palme mentioned the gold slime again, showing Abe something that made his eyes go wide. He said he ate the slime, leveling up his circle once more. Abe's was stunned. The kid had 2 circles now. He'd absorbed the gold slime's mana stone. Palm just shrugged, thinking that should be proof enough. Now, as promised, Abe's had to give him a rank E promotion, but he shook his head. I'll give you rank D. Palme was shocked. Abe's pushed further. Better yet, start working with me, and I'll treat you like a C-rank adventurer. And with that, the kid signed the contract, and the collar was finally taken off his neck. He knew that giving C-rank treatment to someone who wasn't at the 3rd circle was a huge deal. Adventurer ranks are heavily tied to their circles. A veteran is rank A or B, a junior is C or D, and a rookie is stuck at E or F. Circles are a raw symbol of power, and the difference between them is crystal clear. But the punk standing in front of him wasn't normal. You can't just jump a circle by absorbing 1 mana stone. He questioned if the kid called it a survival instinct. He thought, yeah, he has that, along with an absolutely overwhelming talent. Someone who had barely become a First Circle Mage had come back as a Second Circle Mage in no time at all. He'd never witnessed that kind of growth speed before. He knew he absolutely needed this kid on his side. He noticed his treatment had improved faster than he'd imagined. It seemed Abe's was seriously impatient, but that was fine by him, because the first 100-member Red Rank Portal Raid was right around the corner. This was the first major event that the Merchant Union and the guilds were all watching, and obviously, the Gaff Merchant Union would be extremely interested. This was no problem for him. He was in a hurry too, and while he was at it, he might as well push his own plans forward. He asked Abe's for a favor, who replied, "What do you want? Just name it." So he asked him to lend him some money. Abe's paused, thinking this brat was already pushing his luck. The gates had kicked off the Age of Adventurers, but they were actually a trap set by the Dark Mage. So many adventurers died in the portals, wiping out the future potential of Maple World. The final day came after that, and all the monsters that were waiting rushed through the portals, and humanity lost. And in exactly 3 years from now, the fate that Maple World is about to face isn't so far away. Abe's watched the protagonist walk into the crowd of other adventurers. He thought, it's not enough, but it's a good enough start. The 100-member portal they found this time is a red level, and only those with 2 circles can enter. Normally, the GAF Merchant Union only selects adventurers with higher circles, and the reason they're investing in a second circle like him is because the GAF Merchant Union is targeting that portal. And while he got some money, spending it all on items would be boring, and items that fit his level are way too expensive. And if he was going to think of something useful to spend his money on, he would go to another shop. And so, one of the vendors there happily greeted him for choosing the light slave market. He said the boy must be an adventurer and offered to guide him, asking what kind of companion he was looking for, whether it was a bait slave or a warrior to fight alongside him. And the protagonist said there was someone he was looking for and asked the vendor to lead the way. That guy didn't quite understand, but said that this was the punishment field, and that they use that place to punish those who act like the person he was looking for. He took the boy to a cell, but was afraid of who was inside and asked if he was sure he wanted that guy. The protagonist said he was aware, looking at that man and saying that he was the one he was looking for. He said that the death of a certain individual accelerated the destruction of the world in his previous life. This was the axe heroine, Aren, and this was that girl's killer. And the perpetrator was none other than the only apprentice she ever had, Debo, the hero killer. This was the incident that marked the beginning of the end. Then Debo asked why the boy came for him, saying that he didn't know him and telling him to go away. And so the vendor started apologizing to the client, saying that his mental state was a little complicated. But the protagonist said his behavior was a little different from what it was before his return, because now he was just a slave, treating an adventurer like that. Even as a slave, he thought Debo was rude. The vendor said he had other mad dogs like him, but the protagonist thought it wasn't just his personality, but his ability too. At his side, he was one of the few who gained attention after the final day. And sometimes they were compared. They were from the same region, awakened at the same time, and were very skilled. But what was most similar was something else. And so, he was released. And the protagonist asked how much he cost. Debo said it seemed they had a young master from a rich family there and asked if he could pay what he was asking, saying, "I want 1 million miso. Is that okay with you?" And the protagonist said that what compared them was the fact of how desperately they needed money, because that guy had a younger sister who had the black blood disease. Then Debo told him to leave if he didn't have money, because he didn't want him acting all cocky. This was not the time. But then the protagonist fiddled with a bag and Debo was surprised, realizing that he really had 1 million meso and asked if that was real money. That other vendor asked if he was serious and Debo bowed his head. Then the protagonist told him to wait a bit because he should hear what he had to say. The terms were 1 year, a 70-30 benefit split, and he had priority in choosing the items that drop in the portal. Then the vendor was surprised that he was making a party member contract instead of a slave contract, so he told Debo to take a look at the contract. The kid took it from his hand, saying that there was no way back, and simply bit his finger, accepting without any hesitation. He wonders if it's because his sister is running out of time. Palm just grins and says, as long as the contract is signed, they're heading straight for the gate, and Gibo quickly agrees with the kid. While Palm says he'll have to prove his worth, Gibo swears he'll work harder than anyone Palm has ever seen, and with that, they head for the gate. But once they get there, Gibo calls out to the kid, saying he's grateful for the new weapon, but he normally uses a longsword and thinks they should switch back. But the kid coldly says, from now on, you'll be using an axe while working with me, and if you don't like it, we can just end the contract. Gibo has no choice but to agree. But then he asks if that's the gate they're planning to test out, pointing out that it's a red level zone with an entry limit of 8 people. Palm just says it looks like the right place, but Gibo asks where the rest of the party is. A boss with deep pockets like you has to have some amazing members, he says, adding that they must have a healer, because a fight is a fight, but a healer is essential. But Palm just turns and gives him a strange look. Why are you looking at me like that? Gibo asks, suddenly realizing they're the only ones there. There's no need to worry about other members, Palm says. We have enough. Gibo lets out a sigh of relief. Man, I was freaking out for no reason. However, Palm continues, all the members I need are standing right in front of me. Gibo doesn't get it at all, seeing it's just the 2 of them. Then Palm tells him to stop wasting time and shoves him inside. The guy is stunned as he tumbles into the dungeon. Are you insane? He yells. An 8-person gate with only 2 people? There's a limit to crazy, dude. Does this look like a joke to you? On top of that, he has to use a weapon he's not even used to. But Palm just stares at him with a dead serious expression, and Gibo immediately spots monsters spawning behind him, their tree stumps with 3 eyes. He realizes they're stamps, and figures he screwed up by shouting so much. He grips the axe and gets ready for a fight. He mutters that they're known for their tough bark that swords and spears can barely scratch, not to mention their sheer numbers. But then Palm tells him to get out of the way. Gibo begs him to wait, but the kid unleashes a fire arrow, effortlessly slicing one of them clean in half. Gibo is speechless. Palm then uses telekinesis on that fire arrow, wiping out swarms of those things in front of him. "This is disappointing," Palm says flatly, looking back at him. "To think you'd act like that the second we entered a gate. Don't make a mistake like that again." And Gibo can only wonder, what kind of monster is this guy? Meanwhile, somewhere else, a girl reports that the merchants took the bait and that they're still buying time for the plan, but they've already captured the people they were going to send. A man with a seriously villainous vibe listens to her report while sipping wine. The girl asks if they have his permission to proceed. That guy says yes, and the girl vanishes from behind him. He murmurs that everything will be done according to that person's will and wishes for freedom for the Maple World. After Palm deals with all the stumps, Gibo gathers all the mana stones, getting a total of 27 of them. Palm then tells him it's time to move, and Gibo quickly agrees. As they walk through the wasteland, Gibo thinks, "I thought he was just nuts, but this kid is no joke." He's stunned that his power is telekinesis, saying he's never seen or even heard of anyone using a fire arrow like that. He thinks that since he's teaming up with someone so powerful, he should be able to make a lot of money. The idea is incredible, and since the split is 70-30, he should be able to save up for medical expenses and food for a while. The thought makes him grin like an idiot. But Palm suddenly says, "Found them." He doesn't understand. "I found another group of stamps," Palm clarifies, and Gibo sees about 9 of them. "A perfect number," Palm says. Gibo asks, "Perfect for what?" But Palm is staring right at him, and he gets a sinking feeling about what he means. And so, Gibo throws a rock, catching the attention of one of the monsters. He appears above it with his axe, ready to chop some wood, splitting the stump in half as the others get spooked. Gibo starts complaining in his head, asking why he has to fight these bastards all by himself. He's never used this type of weapon, so it's super irritating. And even if he had 10 lives, it wouldn't be enough to take down all these monsters. He thinks his boss is a truly insane bastard, making him fight alone against all these things. Palm recalls him saying he's only ever used swords, and thinks it's pretty obvious from how he moves. But he'll soon realize the axe is the weapon that will make him stronger, he thinks. There's no doubt he's talented, especially since he's the only apprentice chosen by the axe heroine, Aren. And so, the monsters rush him, attacking with everything they've got, but the guy continues to slice through them easily. He starts to notice something. The axe has a much longer reach, not to mention insane attack power. It's way more comfortable than using a sword, and after he calmed down a bit, the axe started to feel lighter. He wonders what would happen if he just wielded it more freely. He manages to cut through all those monsters with ease, spinning the axe on pure instinct. Palm notes that he picked it up really fast. He hasn't even awakened a circle yet, but he's already this strong. But while he's praising his performance, he senses something, and the ground starts to tremble. Gibo wonders if it's an earthquake, looking up, and from the middle of a wall, the leg of one of those monsters bursts out. He has to dodge fast to avoid being hit, questioning what the heck that is. It's actually a gigantic stamp. The monster tries to kill him in every way possible, but Palm appears, pulling him out of the way and tossing him aside. Its size has nothing to do with its threat level, he says. It just makes it an easier target. Gibo thinks magic might work, and the kid throws his arrow at the stamp, but it turns out the monster can block the attack. Palm realizes its reaction speed is faster than expected, so he prepares to try again, using his staff like a bow. He readies another one of those arrows, activating his telekinesis. The monster watches the arrow spin around it, trying to track it with its eyes. But Palm fakes it out, aiming for its back, thinking he only needs one shot. But even then, the monster stops the attack with one of its branches, making it totally useless. Palm realizes he blocked that too, and actually looks a little nervous. Gibo screams at him. "So magic doesn't work either? Why are you still standing there? Run if you don't want to die." Palm tells him it's not that the attacks don't work, because it wouldn't have bothered blocking them if they were useless. The problem is the branches. And just like that, all those branches come flying at them. They barely get hit. The monster sees that they've jumped into the air and prepares another branch to hit them. Gibo is shocked when he sees it, but Palm uses a rock to give them a foothold, and with that rock, they manage to get out of the way. Gibo says the kid did a great job, thinking he was about to die, and thanks him. But Palm says it's no problem and tells him he should take care of the stamps behind them. He questions since when those monsters were there, and Palm says he'll take care of the other bastard. Gibo tries to scream for him, but he ends up being left behind, and he wonders, why is that kid so fast? Palm then rushes the monster, launching another one of his arrows. Gibo is desperate, thinking they can't possibly beat this thing without a plan and that they need to run. Watching Palm's fight, he sees the monster block his arrow one more time and says, "See? Just like I said." But the monster ends up getting hit in one of its eyes. Gibo was stunned that he actually managed to land a hit, while the protagonist unleashed arrow after arrow. He muttered that the branches were moving way faster than he expected, making it impossible to use telekinesis and attack at the same time. However, since he was a second circle mage, he could cast 2 spells consecutively. So he fired one arrow to bait the monster's defense, and a second one to rip its branch clean off. Debo thought it was absolutely incredible. Hiding a fire arrow right behind the first one was just insane. No matter how fast that thing was, there was no way it could block 2 attacks in a row. He was shocked, realizing that even the mighty Stamp was defenseless against an attack like that. This kid was more of a monster than he thought. But as he was watching the fight, he realized something was terribly wrong and screamed for Palm as several smaller Stamps were creeping up on the boy. He yelled for Palm to watch his back, realizing in horror that he'd let some of the creatures slip past him. But Palm just smirked, redirecting the arrow downwards and wiping out all the monsters surrounding him. He glanced at Debo, asking if he couldn't even handle those little ones. That just made the big one furious, and it launched another attack on the boy. But the protagonist was too quick, vaulting over the rocks and dodging the creature's rampage. He knew that if he showed an opening, even for a split second, the monster would take it. While he was mid-air, a vine whipped through the air, nearly taking his head off. But Debo appeared at the last second, tackling the protagonist to the ground and slicing the root with his axe. He growled that he just saved Palm, and that he'd better take back what he said. Palm just grinned, saying that he was finally acting like a partner as he knocked more arrows. Together, they were fired up to finish off the damned beast once and for all. With their morale boosted, Palm launched 2 fire arrows at the monster, causing a huge explosion across its body as it struggled to block one of them. Debo then charged in, slicing at it with his axe. The protagonist, seeing this, noticed he was attacking from the sides and was about to be hit. But Palm shouted for Debo to take the right while he handled the left, and the two cut through the roots, rushing the monster again. Debo began to circle its body, jumping and slashing everything he could, but he was slammed in the ribs and coughed up blood everywhere as the monster nearly swallowed him whole. However, the protagonist levitated a rock under the boy and, like he was riding Goku's cloud, quickly pulled him out of there. But then another root smashed the rock he was on, destroying it and sending him flying. The protagonist realized this was getting too problematic, summoning even more stones and making him land on one of them. But the monster attacked him again. He realized there was no escape and began hopping across the stones to try and dodge the creature. The protagonist, for his part, continued with his fire arrow, circling the monster's entire body and drawing its attention. And when the tree turned its face to look at the main character, Palm yelled for Debo to end it, and he brought his axe down, hitting one of the thing's eyes. And so, the creature that had 3 eyes now had 2 on the same side and began to suffer, screaming from the blow. But Debo let go of his axe, jumping back and leaving the weapon behind. He shouted that it wasn't over yet and charged back at the thing. The protagonist, in turn, used his telekinesis to grab the axe and throw it into the boy's hand. Debo caught it in midair and told the thing to get ready, because it was time for dessert. And once more he struck another of the creature's eyes, which screamed again from the pain inflicted on it. And so he was thrown backwards, tumbling and landing right in front of the monster. The tree even lunged with its mouth to try and bite him, but the protagonist shoved his fire arrows into its mouth, launching both of them deep inside and causing a massive explosion in its core. Then, with its core destroyed, the monster began to catch fire, and Debo, looking at it, felt more at ease. Palm approached him, saying he did a good job, and Debo said the boy did too. With that, they finally managed to destroy that monster. Sometime later, elsewhere, in a very humble house on the outskirts, Debo's sister was eating alone, thinking that it was getting late and she should eat quickly, go to bed, and be grateful for the food. But then someone knocked on her door, and she opened it, asking who it was, and got the shock of her life, realizing it was her brother. He said that he was back, and the girl began to tremble, crying with emotion. But she stayed strong, just hugging her brother and thanking him for coming home. Meanwhile, the protagonist went to another place, all beaten up. And inside that house was a picture of him with his supposed father. But that person was lying in bed in a rather dangerous situation, because he was beyond saving. The protagonist, looking at this, felt a wave of sadness. And the only thing he could do for that person was to activate his fire arrow, setting that house on fire and simply leaving it behind. Sometime later, Abe's was in his office thinking that this was going to cause problems, because the portal of the 100 was about to appear. So he wondered how he should organize what had appeared before him, because Rockin would be in charge of things this time, and if he failed, it wouldn't end well at all. This time, all 10 of the top merchant unions would be focusing on clearing that portal for epic or higher quality items. They are basically guaranteed in the portal of the 100, and even a legendary item might appear, but that doesn't mean it will be easy. Because the 3 Natasha sisters from the Goldrick Merchant Union are so powerful, it's hard to believe they are only second circle adventurers. Then he said that Trio is so powerful that the second circle adventurers from the Gafford Merchant Union can't even compare. And if he were to analyze it objectively, it wasn't just the Goldrick Merchant Union. All 10 unions would be sending their best teams, and his Gafford Merchant Union is easily surpassed by all of them. He was a little hesitant, but he thought about Palm, then noticed someone dared to enter without knocking. And when he looked, it was someone he knew very well, Mr. Rakan. He asked if Abe's had already prepared the list of groups that would clear the portal. Then he apologized, getting up from his chair and letting Rakan sit. He said it's not like him to be late, asking what he thinks of the boy from before. Then he said that damn Palm has some circumstances to consider because they know he's talented, but they have no way of knowing how much. And last time, Shev's entire group was killed, and that's the reason for his skepticism. So Rakan asked if he wanted to test him again, because it just so happens there's a great place for that. And he said that, of course, he should just gather all the groups he's considering, all to be practical. And Rakan said there will be many witnesses this time. Meanwhile, the protagonist went with Debo to another gate. He said it seems like a lot of people are going this time, saying that's how it should be. Then a guy went to talk to the protagonist, asking if they were the guys from the 5th group, because 2 people with a history of slavery didn't make him very happy. The protagonist didn't like what was happening at all, noticing that they were clearly unfriendly and trying to say that slaves would only get in the way. He thought it was normal for experienced groups to think like that, and it seemed that everyone was between the 1st and 2nd circles and were totally different from Shev's group. They were truly professionals who didn't need bait. Then Abe's arrived, asking if everyone was there, and the protagonist was surprised that he had come in person. Abe said he would be direct, and they would proceed with a test now and he would give them a chance to show their skills. And that pirate-looking guy asked if he was going to give them a chance, and Abe said that's right, a chance to go to the portal of the 100. So they're all shocked by the news. He's basically saying they're getting special treatment, and our guy realizes this is how they're going to play the game. He tells them to bring their A game to this 40-person gate, so they all dive in, only to find themselves back in the same damn forest. The pirate dude says they'll only team up for the boss hunt and asks if everyone's cool with that. He says they'll split up for now and regroup when they see the signal. And once again, our main character and Debo get left in the dust while the mage squad pushes forward. They're all talk, saying they'll kill everything in their path since time is short. They all agree with Dolan's plan, right until a monster blocks their path. It's some kind of gnarly 6-legged crab turtle thing. He scoffs, asking if this crap is all they're gonna find here, grumbling about it being mushrooms again. The mage just blasts it with an energy ball, calling it a total waste of time as he unleashes an energy ray. He thinks to himself how tedious this is, telling his buddy to just grab the magic stone so they can move on. But the monster completely tanks his magic attack and gets seriously pissed. That's when they realize it's still alive. The mage is stunned, his magic didn't even pierce it, and yells that it's not working, telling the others to do something, anything. But then, a noise starts rustling in the woods all around them. He screams for everyone to be careful, because they're already surrounded. This cocky group is totally screwed, swarmed by monsters. But somehow, the monsters start dropping one by one. After a brutal fight, all 4 of them are exhausted, but they manage to wipe them out. One of them turns to Dolan, saying the monsters are stronger than usual, and asks what the hell they should do now. Dolan figures winning by kill count is off the table. If they keep this up, they'll burn through all their stamina before the main boss. So, even though it's risky, he decides to just ditch the alliance and go straight for the boss. Our protagonist figures that's what most groups will end up doing. Debo agrees, saying that's probably the move, since these things are so tough. Then he tells our guy to forget it, calling him out for just standing there and not helping at all. Our protagonist just says there were only 3 of them. He should have been able to handle that many himself. Debo snaps back, asking if he's saying they should just waste their time on trash mobs. And our protagonist just says yeah, telling him to get a move on. But now they're at a standstill. Debo wants to rush the boss, while our guy wants to clear the trash. So he asks what the kid actually wants, reminding Palm he just said they were going for the boss. Palm clarifies that he was just saying what the others were thinking, and that based on the numbers, killing the boss is the only way to get a good score. But how you deal with the small fry is important too. Besides, the boss is dangerous, and the competition is going to be fierce. They have no idea what tricks the other teams will pull. Debo figures they probably won't cross the line, but you never know. Then he complains that our protagonist always talks like he knows everything. Right then, Palm adds that he can sense something seriously dangerous about this gate. Meanwhile, Dolan's group keeps pushing ahead until the girl on his team calls out to him, telling him to look. She points out an escape portal. She says she wasn't planning on looking for one, but it's good to find it, telling them to leave a mark nearby. But then, one of the members behind Dolan starts laughing hysterically. He asks what that was all about, and tells Vant he's being way too loud. But Vant just keeps screaming and laughing. Dolan yells, asking if he can't hear him, saying he's going to attract more monsters. But Vant is completely out of control, laughing against his will, tears streaming down his face. Dolan can only ask, "What is happening?" All around them, everyone starts getting sick from a strange smoke filling the air. Dolan realizes it's poison, and his first thought is to run, even if it means abandoning everyone else. But then, a horrifying mushroom monster appears right behind him, smiling with a mouth full of sharp teeth. As the creature gets closer, it starts releasing even more of the poison gas right at Dolan. He knows there's nothing he can do as the monster starts to laugh too. Infected by the mist, he breaks down, laughing hysterically in pure, desperate terror. Meanwhile, on another part of the island, our protagonist and Debo are walking along. Debo is complaining that the guy hasn't fought a single time today when he suddenly notices someone has used a flare. Debo scoffs, saying he knows they're supposed to use the flare for a boss, but he's surprised someone actually did it. When the two of them arrive, everyone is giving our main character the stink eye. He notices one group is missing. The pirate declares that since it looks like everyone's here, he'll start explaining. But one of the girls points out that the sorcerer Dolan's group hasn't shown up yet. He just brushes it off, saying it doesn't matter. There's no reason to wait. Then he announces they found the boss. And when they found it, they all witnessed Dolan's party get completely wiped out. The last one was eaten alive by the monster, the boss of this area, the madness poison mushroom. Seriously, if there's one thing the author of this manhwa knows how to do, it's draw some ugly monsters. The girl is shocked, asking what he means by the madness poison mushroom. She says they're in deep trouble, because her group is in no condition to handle a boss like that. She insists that if the madness mushroom is really the boss, they have to give up on the hunt. They need to find the escape portal as soon as possible. And of course, Debo asks about this madness poison mushroom, wondering if it's really that dangerous. Our protagonist is stunned that this is the boss, thinking it's the absolute worst kind of boss to run into at their level. While he's lost in thought, Debo keeps pestering him. Our protagonist explains that it's because of the spores it spreads. It makes it impossible to get close, which means they can't use their numbers to their advantage. But Debo just keeps running his mouth, nagging our protagonist non-stop. He explains that if they want to take it down, they'll have to rely on ranged attacks. However, half-assed attacks won't do any damage, since it's super tough and fast. Then the pirate adds that, unfortunately, the boss is blocking the way to the escape portal. It's impossible to get out without facing it, but Debo just scoffs, asking if he's getting scared. He claims the boss is nothing, and that one shot from his invincible fire arrow will solve everything. Palm immediately shuts him down, telling him to close his mouth, which makes Debo furious. Palm says they'll all die if they rush in without a plan, and that his stupid fire arrow won't even scratch it. Debo looks completely shocked. Palm explains that even the small mushrooms in this gate are total tanks, so they have to assume the boss is even tougher. The pirate gets all pissy that they're wasting time on something so obvious, muttering that this is why slaves are slaves. One of the knights tells Iboru they don't have time for this nonsense. They need to figure out how to get the hell out of there. But then our protagonist raises his hand, offering 50,000 mesos. Iboru asks what the hell he's talking about. Our guy says he'll give 50,000 mesos per person, and since there are 30 people here, that comes out to 1.5 million mesos. He tells them to take the deal and act as bait for everyone else. Debo is completely floored by what he's hearing, screaming, "What the hell is this?" But Iboru just tells him not to get cocky. He sneers that he might be used to those slave tactics, but he shouldn't think it'll work every time. He says this boss isn't the type to be easily lured away. If they follow his plan and fail to draw its attention, dying in the process, everyone else will be dead in an instant. He says slaves just get in the way in high-rank gates. Then he adds, "Putting that aside, what's wrong with that guy next to him? He doesn't even look like he's awakened." He scoffs, asking what a two-circle adventurer and a slave can possibly do. At this, Debo absolutely loses it. Furious that this guy has been trying to pick a fight with them from the start, Palm cuts him off, asking for the actual plan. With all that talk, he had to have something brilliant up his sleeve, but Dio just admits he's got nothing, just as he figured. Palm knew Dio was bluffing. If he really had a way to take down the boss, he never would have used that flare. Palm then clarifies, "My group consists of a second circle and a first circle." Dio glances at his arm, stunned by the new mark that appeared. Whoa, when did this show up? A cocky grin spreads across his face as he thinks, "Heh, I'm a genius." Palm then asks, doesn't Baroa's group only have 1 or 2 second circles? The guy realizes the kid is right, but the girl from their party steps in. "Wait," she says, "if you're really going to be the bait for us, we're willing to pay. However, they don't have the full amount on them right now." "Not a problem," our hero says coolly. "You can pay us when you get out. And if you don't make it out," he continues, "just consider it a noble sacrifice." He tells them everyone has to agree to the terms, and leaves them to make their choice. A short while later, near the exit portal, the monster was feasting on the remains of the last group. Suddenly, a flaming arrow ripped through the air, heading straight for it. It takes the hit dead center in the face and is instantly shrouded in smoke. Our hero tells Dio, "We move the second the boss spots us." Dio, confused, asks, "Why would we do that?" And sure enough, the boss notices them, its eye glowing with the cold promise of death. It lets out a chilling laugh and charges straight for the two of them, hungry for the kill. Our hero sees it coming. "Why is it so fast?" Dio yells, as they both pull masks over their faces. The monster barrels toward them with a crazed look in its eyes, giving it everything it has. The two of them run for their lives, a strange mist chasing close behind. The girl from the other party shouts, "Everyone, run now! Hurry and activate the portal before the bait gets killed." They slam their hands on the pillar, and the portal begins to shimmer into existence. Everyone prepares to make their escape. But just as Dio is making a desperate sprint, more monsters appear right in his path. He starts getting seriously pissed. "Do I look like an easy target to you?" he roars, imbuing his axe with flames. "Just get out of my way!" He unleashes his explosive cleave, tearing through several of the creatures at once. But then, the psycho mushroom appears right behind him, its massive jaws wide open, ready to finish the kid off. But our protagonist is faster, firing another flaming arrow that slams right into the creature's mouth. The monster staggers back, wounded, but it's still laughing maniacally. Our hero fires another arrow, but this time, the mushroom dodges with shocking speed. However, our hero uses his telekinesis, making the arrow whip around mid-air and chase after the monster. The arrow zips and turns, trying to land a hit, while the mushroom scrambles like a cornered insect, dodging frantically as it lunges for Dio, trying to grab him. "Palm! It's gaining on us!" Dio yells. But they're already nearing the edge of a ravine. Right at the last second, they leap across the chasm, the mushroom's claws missing them by inches. From the other side, Dio taunts the creature. "Hey, eat this!" As it looks up, our protagonist fires another flaming arrow that smashes right into its face. The force sends them both tumbling into the river below. Dio crawls out of the water, coughing and sputtering. "That damn mushroom almost killed me," he complains loudly. Palm calmly dries himself off as Dio continues his rant. "What the hell is that thing's problem? Didn't you hear?" Palm asks. "That's the area, boss. Looks like we'll have to prepare better if we want to kill it." Palm is completely unfazed. Dio just stares at him. "Kill it? Are you serious? I must have heard you wrong." "No, you heard me right," the kid replies. Dio can't believe it. "Are you kidding me?" Palm just shrugs. "What's the problem? Isn't that why we came here? To hunt the boss?" Dio throws his hands up in frustration. "That was before we knew the boss was the infamous madness mushroom. Haven't you ever heard of a strategic retreat?" Palm calmly states. "You can't re-enter a portal you've escaped from." "I know that," Dio yells back. "But shouldn't we get out of here? Our job as bait is done. How are we supposed to kill that thing when your arrows didn't work? Didn't you say we'd die if we tried to fight it?" But then, Palm replies coolly, "The situation has changed. Now that our competition is gone," he explains, "we're basically a free meal. Besides, we're in line for a massive bonus." "What's the problem? Are you really thinking about breaking our contract?" Dio stammers, "No, I wasn't thinking that. Fine, but you better give me a huge bonus for all this." "Of course," the kid says. "But just tell me one thing, Palm," Dio demands. "How are we supposed to kill that thing when melee and ranged attacks don't even work? I'm not throwing my life away on an impossible mission. Is there even a way to kill that thing?" Meanwhile, back outside the portal, Abe's is surprised to see them emerging. "Isn't that a little too fast for a 40-person portal?" He turns to Jabari. "So, how'd it go? Looks like you're missing a few people." She just shakes her head. "We failed. Dolan's entire group was wiped out, and Palm is still inside. We only escaped because Palm and his partner acted as bait. It's impossible to kill that boss with our party." Abe scoffs. "What are you talking about? So you did nothing but run with your tail between your legs?" "The boss was the infamous madness mushroom," she protests. "There was nothing we could do." He throws his cigar to the ground and crushes it. "All right, everyone, let's head back," she pleads. "Abe's, wait. Palm's group isn't out yet. The portal is still active, so they must be alive." But Abe's just sneers. "They're not going to survive. It's only a matter of time. You said it yourself. It's the madness mushroom. If you want to wait, be my guest. I don't have time for this." He starts muttering, cursing the useless adventurers. Looks like their luck just ran out. It's impossible for a two-circle mage to kill a madness mushroom. Average adventurers like them are worthless to me, he thinks. The kind of person I want is someone who can overcome any obstacle. Back inside the dungeon, our hero aims his flaming arrow into the deep woods. Abe's continues his inner monologue. "What I need is someone who makes the impossible possible." At that exact moment, the boy is about to release his arrow. He turns to Dio and says, "Let the hunt begin." And with that, he lets it fly. The arrow streaks through the forest. This boss is faster and tougher than any they've faced before. On top of that, it uses poison, making things even more difficult. In a situation like this, the best strategy is to keep your distance and attack with overwhelming power from afar. But a normal fire arrow just doesn't have that kind of force. However, if he uses telekinesis to make the arrow spin at high velocity, its penetrating power increases drastically. This is a technique he can only use in the Maple world, an idea he came up with by studying how a bullet works. The skill that makes the impossible possible. Revolver. The spinning projectile rockets towards the mushroom, hitting it dead on and piercing straight through its tough hide. From a huge distance, he not only hits the monster, but also slices through several trees in the process. The mushroom is left with a gaping hole in its chest. I was aiming for its head, where the core is, he thinks. But it looks like I missed. The madness mushroom begins to bleed its toxic purple blood everywhere. This is about to get even more problematic, he mutters. The monster whips its head around, searching for its attacker. Then, it finally spots the faint glow of our hero's mana and begins charging straight for him. But the kid lets another arrow fly, only this time he misses, failing to hit the thing's head. He grumbles that it's tough using the revolver while it's moving, and the real issue is the reload time. He has to finish this before the beast climbs up. But it's already so close, scrambling on all fours like some rabid dog. The monster reaches the base of the cliff, but as it gets closer, it senses something is off. That's when Palm shouts to Gibo that it's time. He preps their plan and yanks a rope, tripping the monster. It stumbles and face plants right into the mud. From the middle of that gooey mess, the creature looks up, confused, and Palme yells to get its attention. Just then, Gibo charges from behind, slamming his huge explosive axe right in the monster's face with everything he's got. The axe flies back to his hand as the monster readies its venom. Gibo smirks, finally able to breathe, and taunts the monster. Come on up, the air's nice and fresh. Why don't we play now? With one of them high and the other low, Palme thinks the conditions have been met. He recalls that the mission's focus was to lure the monster into the swampy area. After all, the first rule of hunting is to neutralize your prey's strengths. He knew this should guarantee the creature's strongest weapon would be useless. The monster tries to spit its venom, but the thick mud completely blocks it. Gibo laughs. What's wrong? You a little mad because we plugged up all the holes in your face? He taunts. Too bad for you. Then swings his axe wildly, blasting the monster with explosions. He whips his axe like a chain, sending it flying straight for the creature. But the mushroom freak actually catches the axe right out of the air. But Gibo just flips his axe, swinging it around and hitting the mushroom from all sides. The monster starts to fight back, lunging at Gibo. Turns out, they didn't just lure it here to block its venom, but because muddy swamps are the worst for fast monsters like this one. And sure enough, the monster can barely get a solid footing. This is the worst place it could possibly be. It's getting bogged down by the water. With this opening, our hero uses his revolver again, aiming for the monster's head. It throws a hand up to block, but still gets wounded by the shot. Seeing this, Gibo gets ready to help out too, but Palme's attack causes a massive explosion, and Gibo yells, "Did it die?" But through the smoke, the monster is still standing. Gibo thinks, this thing is way too tough. Palm orders him to aim for the core, saying it must be near the head. I know that! Gibo shouts back, hurling his axe. But just as it's about to hit the monster's head, the creature snags the handle. Gibo is stunned, and before he can react, the monster yanks him flying through the air into the swamp. But Palm immediately steps in, refusing to let his partner be killed. Using telekinesis, he slams a whole tree trunk right into the monster's face. Gibo grabs onto it as the monster staggers back. Gibo uses the chance to swing to the other side, kicking the monster's head before leaping away. He lands perfectly on a plant root, avoiding the swamp. He immediately prepares to attack again, jumping from that spot onto some nearby rocks. Meanwhile, Palme uses his telekinesis to surround the monster with mud, piling it on to block its pores. And right in the middle of that mud tsunami, Gibo appears on the other side to launch another attack with his axe. However, the monster sees his shadow and defends, but it's a feint. Gibo isn't there, surprising the creature, which gets attacked from behind instead. With a single clean and powerful strike, the kid slices the thing's head clean off. The mushroom head falls beside its motionless standing body. Completely exhausted, Gibo gives our hero a thumbs up from below. But then Palm sees something terrifying. Behind the kid, the headless body is still moving. It smashes Gibo in the head with all its might, sending him sinking into the mud as his axe is knocked aside. The monster roars, even without a head. Palm wonders how this is possible, certain that he blew its head off. He fires another arrow at it, but the monster vanishes, moving even faster now. It leaps over the same rocks Gibo just used and rushes straight for our hero. He realizes he must have forgotten something. He uses telekinesis to try and stop the monster, but the thing just jumps onto the rock where he's standing and starts climbing. He thinks that he only has enough for one more fire arrow. There is no next time, he tells himself. I can't afford to miss this shot. But then Gibo rises from the mud, his face covered in blood, looking totally pissed. He uses his explosive strike one more time, hurling his axe and slicing the creature's torso in two. The legs fall away below. The kid thinks he got it, but the damn thing is still moving, its hands still clawing their way up toward Palm. Boss, look out! He screams. The kid fires his last fire arrow, and inside the creature's chest, he finally sees it. The core, still pulsing with the will to kill. Palm finally realizes that was its true head and thanks it for showing him. Casually pulling out his revolver, he says, "Sorry guys, there's just no way. There are very few things in this world a 38 can't solve." Then he scoffs, thinking the previous attack was just a bluff. And so, our hero uses his revolver and unleashes a real attack straight into the creature's chest. And with that, he finally exterminates the poison mushroom. A huge cloud of smoke erupts everywhere. Gibo thinks, this guy is a pain in the ass to the very end, as the creature releases all its poison into the area. But our hero quickly uses the nearby rope and his telekinesis to pull Gibo out of there. He's unaffected by the poison and is glad our hero saved him, thinking he was about to die. The entire area below is consumed by the purple cloud. Gibo asks if it's really over now, and our hero says yes, telling him he did a great job. He says they'll get the Mana Stone when the poison clears, but right in front of him, the thing appears once again. In the middle of the log, the core is cracked, but it still exists. And that thing starts spraying poison all over our hero and Gibo. He thinks, we're really screwed, and starts laughing in despair. Elsewhere, Rakan confronts Abes, thinking that he really returned empty-handed. He says his temper hasn't changed at all, and Abes apologizes, saying they should leave this matter to the Cygnus Knights. Just then, someone knocks on the door and he tells the person to go away, saying he already told them not to bother him. But then Palm just opens the door, not caring at all. Abes asks, "What the hell?" cursing the boy out. Then he's shocked to see that it's Palm. He simply says, "I'm back," and Rakan breaks into a huge grin, thinking this is very interesting. At this, Rakan asks Abes what's going on, wondering if someone crawled out of their grave. Introducing himself as Rakan, he says it's a pleasure to meet the kid. He asks if he's Palm, saying his survival skills are just as the rumors say, and that he's the type they need now in Gotham. Hearing this, Palm thanks him for the compliment. He says he'll only ask one question, questioning if he would be able to show that skill again at the 100-Men Gate. Palme looks directly at him, but says it would be difficult, and Rakan does not like that answer at all. Abes fires back. "Is that how you talk to Hakan now? You think you're some big-shot adventurer who can pick and choose missions? Don't forget, you still owe me." But Palm, remembering the kid said it was difficult, realizes that doesn't mean impossible. He cuts him off. "I don't do mind games. Let me rephrase the question. What do you want?" A little while later, Gibu is already sipping his beer, completely stunned. He said 5 million meso per person? For the two of us, that's 10 million meso. That's insane. But our hero doesn't even hear the crap he's spouting. The guy had just thrown his beer right in his face, forcing him to apologize. Gibu questions him. "Aren't you being a little too greedy? They're definitely going to back out now, and this was our first big mission in a while." But Palm just tells him, "That's not my problem. It's their decision to make." Gibu notices he's acting strangely after causing such a mess. If this falls through, Abes is going to blacklist us. Just then, Iboru shows up, saying, "You seem relaxed. Not like us. We feel like we're dying over here." Gibu snaps. "What's that supposed to mean? Is this how people thank you for saving their lives these days? Look, I didn't like you from the start. Let's just go. Ranks aside, let's just fight." But then, both of them suddenly apologize. They admit they were biased and unfairly questioned their skills. Iboru says he's ashamed of himself as an adventurer and wants to sincerely apologize. Okay, I was not expecting that at all. I definitely wasn't expecting an apology from an NPC. He explains that this is the promised amount from all 30 people, totaling 15.5 million meso. Everyone apparently pitched in a little extra as a thank you, and Gibu just accepts it. Palm, however, says, "We don't need this. The agreement was for 15.5 million meso. I just did the job I was paid for. You can keep your thanks. Don't get things twisted." Gibu mutters under his breath. "Well, I got excited for nothing," and says he'll count the money. But our main character speaks to Iboru. "Is that your name?" he asks. "Can you just do the job you're paid for?" leaving the other guy confused. Later, Abes complains to Hakan. "He can't do that. 10 million meso is way too much. That's what you pay third or fourth circle adventurers. Even if he's the best of the candidates, accepting his terms will set a bad precedent. It's possible he's just bluffing. We should probably call him back in to renegotiate the payment terms." But Hakan shoots back. "You really think so? It wouldn't be strange if he asked for double that amount." Abes finds Hakan's response completely bizarre. Hakan tells him to read a document, explaining, "We'll be sending only Palm's group to represent the Gaff Merchant Union this time." Abes wonders what just two people could possibly do, but his face drains of color as he reads the file. Is this for real?" Hakan replies, "I'd be in deep trouble if it wasn't. I paid a huge sum for that information." Abes reads about the Dark Lord Jin and thinks, if this is true, they're screwed. Hakan tells him not to be fooled. The war has already begun. So, at the 100-person gate, various groups are camped out, chatting amongst themselves, until one of them spots our hero and Gibu approaching. Palm warns, "Don't get too hyped. Stay focused." Gibu replies, "Don't worry. I'm an experienced adventurer now, too." The crests they're wearing prove it, and suddenly, all eyes are on the two of them in total surprise. Gibu immediately notices the hostile atmosphere, as if everyone was looking at them with disgust. Then, one of those guys with a seriously punchable face asks if they're from the Gaff Merchant Union. "It's a pleasure," he says, introducing himself as Shodan, a ranked adventurer from the Jenny Merchant Union. Our protagonist introduces himself as a C-rank adventurer, and Shodan is completely floored. He thought only 2 circle adventurers could enter due to the restriction, asking how C-ranks could possibly be there. Just then, a girl interrupts. "Could you give us some space? We have business with them." Shodan seems annoyed, asking if they were with these guys and muttering that he just wasted his time. Palm, meanwhile, remembers a conversation he had with Abes, asking why he had to take on a mission he was being handed. Abes had ordered him, "Just do as you're told. Why are you asking so many questions? Our Gaff Merchant Union will be working with the Cygnus Order of Knights at that gate." It's explained that they follow the teachings of Empress Cygnus, the strongest in their order. Apparently, the one called the Symbol of Power has shown a special interest in this gate. Abes explained that the slots for the gate had already been taken by another merchant union and knights, so they decided to team up. Even though they're knights in training, the social visibility will be huge, and even if they have their own reasons for coming to the gate, the offer wasn't bad, so they agreed to work together. Our hero simply said he understood, stating, "It won't be a problem if it's a cooperative job." Abes was surprised by the kid's quick decision, not expecting it to be so easy. Back in the present, he realizes something about them smells fishy. The girl introduces herself as Kier, the leader of the Cygnus Order's newbies. She says, "Don't think we're on the same level just because we exchanged a few words. I don't want any extra trouble, so just follow my orders and follow me in silence." Gibu immediately asks, "What kind of attitude is that?" "Yeah, I'm also questioning what the hell kind of attitude that is. They're supposed to be allies, but this girl comes in acting all high and mighty. Don't you dare think we're on the same level. What a stuck-up brat. She acts like her crap doesn't stink. Unbelievable." Then she asks our hero, "Are you two the only ones sent by the Gaff Merchant Union?" He replies, "Looks like it." And Kier wonders if Gaff is even taking this seriously. Just then, the Dig Merchant Union's Krokos group arrives. A whole crew of tough-looking people. Another mid-sized union. You've gotta be kidding me. No. There's no way. The name of the next merchant union is Merd. No, you can't just name your group that. And that over there is the Kogels group. Gibu is shocked to see the elites from all the respective unions, saying the atmosphere has completely changed. Finally, the 3 sisters arrive, stealing everyone's attention. That's the Goldrick Merchant Union and their famous 3 sisters. They're all high-grade adventurers, so he immediately starts getting jealous, calling them arrogant. But then, another guy calls for everyone's attention, greeting them as the chosen guards for this raid. He introduces himself as Longiko and says they're here to provide support as they enter the gate. He says, "Although you've probably been informed of all the details by your respective unions, I'll explain it one more time as a reminder. Any legendary item from this gate will not belong to any of you, not even the one who finds it. The item will belong to your respective merchant unions. You will be paid according to the terms you agreed upon. You can, at least, keep the mana stones, so be happy with that. And remember, if you're caught trying to steal an item, you'll have to face my squad of B-rank adventurers." As he points to his group, he makes sure everyone can see the 5 circles on his arm. Gibu is shocked by this, wondering if they all have that level of power. "That concludes the warnings," he says. "You are all now cleared for entry." And of course, Kier continues to be annoying, calling our hero to follow her, declaring that she will lead and they will be the victors. Gibo shot her a look, grumbling, "What's her problem? Do I really have to work with someone like this?" But the main character tuned him out. All his efforts had led him to this very gate. It was a gate he'd never encountered, not even in his past life, but he had to conquer it. This is where everything begins. He simply motioned for Gil to follow him. Gibo tagged along, still complaining. "Don't come crying to me for help later," he griped. In the middle of a wheat field, the portal shimmered. People were already heading inside. As the guide led them on, Gibo whined, "Why is the grass so tall here?" Kiri instantly shot back, "You think this is a field trip, kid? Stop messing around and keep up with the group." He started to fall behind, absolutely pissed off. He turned to Palm. "Dude, are we really going to take that from her?" But when he looked back, Palm had his ear pressed to the ground. Gibo thought it was super weird. "What the hell are you doing?" he asked. Then he heard a stampede thundering right for them. One of the others heard it too, but it was far too late. A tide of massive monsters, a herd of ribbon pigs, was charging straight at them. They realized there were over 1,000. Kiri screamed, "What are you all doing? Get out of the way!" "Most of the groups haven't even entered yet," she yelled. "Isn't there a rule about not luring danger to the gate's entrance?" A guy started shouting for the merchants to rally, but one portly merchant refused. I'm going the other way, he declared, and took off alone. And just like that, the stampede crashed right through them. These weren't normal pigs. They had razor-sharp teeth, ready to tear someone apart. This is good, someone said. We'll keep them running, lure them somewhere with more obstacles, and hunt them there. But then, a subordinate reported, "We have a problem." The members of the Garfor Merchant Guild seemed to be missing. Kiri's face hardened with fury. While they were caught in that chaos, our protagonist and Gibo were in a completely different spot. That was refreshing, Palm said calmly. I think we can relax now. Gibo just stared. How did you know those ribbon pigs would get so agitated? Palm simply said, based on my experience, huge herds of beasts often travel across plains like this one, he explained. Ribbon pigs have an average body length of 2 meters. They're violent monsters. They usually move in packs of hundreds, sometimes even thousands. And while they're tough to handle, he added, they aren't impossible to kill. The other merchant groups could probably take them, but they'll avoid a fight to save energy this early on. No one knows what kind of boss they'll face in this gate. And you can't clear it just by killing ribbon pigs. He remembered clearly. Before his return, the attack on the 100-man gate in Sleepywood was a total failure. Every single adventurer who participated had been killed. Hey, what are you spacing out for back there? Gibo asked. As the idiot marched forward, he stepped right on a trap and was almost impaled. But the protagonist yanked him out of the way, saving his life. What was that? Gibo shouted, realizing it was a trap. Who would do something like this? A dark look crossed Palm's face as more traps sprung, catching other adventurers and nearly killing them. A bald-headed man scoffed, "This is so childish." His friend added, "I just cleared this area. That must have been the last of them." But another warned, "Babble, don't lower your guard." He recognized Kroros. Even if we disarmed a few small traps, they're still dangerous enough to kill you on the spot. Besides, Kroros continued, they're copying human hunting methods. That alone tells you these aren't ordinary monsters. If they have this level of intelligence, then they're probably ogres. They're much harder to deal with. A single ogre is equivalent to the final boss of a red gate. With this, we know what to expect, he announced. The difficulty of this gate is sky high. We'd all be dead if there weren't high-level adventurers here. We need to use this situation. Everyone, follow me! Just then, someone tripped. Kroros yelled, "Be careful, don't leave anyone behind." But then, Babble's head suddenly fell to the ground beside his body, leaving Kroros completely horrified. The same invisible force that beheaded one man sliced through the others. Kroros himself tried to scream, "What's going on?" But his own head was already flying through the air, spun completely backward. A man appeared as he died, looking down on him. Kroros managed to ask, "Who?" The man just called him an idiot. You acted like you knew everything. And yet, you died just like all the rest. The killer mused, using the ribbon pigs to distract everyone entering the portal. I don't know whose idea it was, but it worked out well for us. With this opening, I need to start moving. He thought, that guy is annoying, but we can't do anything about it. We're short on time. Should I begin? The Natasha sisters stood grim-faced, unable to move. Don't even bother trying, the killer said. My magic will keep you paralyzed for the next 30 minutes. One of them managed to ask, why? Are you doing this? The man looked impressed. Amazing. You can still think and talk even under my spell, just as I'd expect from a Natasha, he said. Since you're the most dangerous one here, I might as well get rid of you first. He summoned a fireball and blasted it right through the girl's stomach, killing her in front of her sisters. The other two began to tremble and cry. He tilted his head. That is, in fact, a hard question to answer. Why am I doing this? Then, a twisted smile appeared on his face. Maybe this will make it easier to understand. It is all for the Dark Mage, Lord. He unleashed a fire arrow at the other two, slaughtering them without another word. Their dismembered bodies collapsed onto the ground. This never ends, he thought with a sigh. I just wanted to take a break. As explosions echoed around him, he remembered his master, William. We have stayed in the shadows for a long time, his master had said, hiding from them, growing and spreading our power, all for this one moment. His master had turned to him, saying, the time has finally come to reap the fruits of your labor. I will not disappoint you, he had vowed. Then his master had told him, take this, it is a gift, from Times, that Times person. I will not accept failure, William had warned. The memory made him tense. He couldn't just do this half-heartedly after that. I cannot fail, he thought. I need to take this a little more seriously. Man, I was not expecting this level of brutality. I mean, sure, this series has been savage since moment one with those adventurers dying, but damn, he killed them in cold blood. Meanwhile, in a village, a group of ogres was gathered, ready for a fight. Arriving on the scene, Gibo started to panic. What is this? They're all boss-level monsters. Palm told him, "I'm sure I told you earlier, there's only one boss among them. They just have high resistance and are naturally strong. Facing even one of them is risky enough. It looks like they stole a bunch of items from dead adventurers. That's going to make this even more complicated, since some adventurer weapons let the user use a skill." Hearing that, Gibo started to seriously freak out. "What are we going to do now? This means we're fighting the equivalent of an adventurer army. And it's just the two of us." Palm noted his reaction calmly. "You panicked even faster this time. Good job." But Gibo shot back, "I'm not talking about that. It's impossible to fight those monsters with just two people. We have to regroup with Kiri and Kick." He could never remember her name. He asks, "Why the hell would I do that?" Since Gibo himself wanted to split up as soon as possible. But the guy says that was before he knew about these monsters. Bottom line, there's no way the two of them can beat this army. And our hero knows it. A little later, a couple of ogres get separated from the pack, and Gibo moves in for the kill. The ogre ducks at the last second, barely dodging the kid's attack. "Are you serious?" he grumbles. Pretty sure the bastard is messing with him on purpose. He mutters that he never wanted to do this alone. While he's on the ogre's back, the monster swings a massive fist at him, but he just slams his axe into the ground and vaults clean over the creature, flipping around to land behind it. The monster keeps trying to grab him, lunging at the kid with everything it's got. Gibo dodges by a hair, nearly taking a massive fist to the face. He smacks it with the handle of his axe, shouting, "You scream way too loud." He follows up with another attack to its knee, forcing it to fall. Then he unleashes his attack, yelling that it's over for the creature. But the ogre moves with insane speed, dodging his strike. It winds up a punch and sends Gibo flying into a tree, but he manages to block the impact with just his axe handle. "Why won't this thing just die already?" he shouts. The monster attacks again, smashing the tree. But he's already moved, closing the distance for hand-to-hand combat and ripping the ogre's arm clean off. But the monster still has one arm left. It grabs the kid's head and starts spinning him around, before slamming Gibo into the ground and getting ready to attack again. The ogre grabs him, but Gibo grabs its arm right back, twisting the limb into a knot. The ogre decides it's better to just throw the kid. When Gibo hits the ground, he bounces right back up, going toe-to-toe with the thing. He finally defeats his opponent, while our hero defeats his own with no trouble at all. Gibo says he thought the main character was going to step in and help, but he just says it looked like Gibo had it handled, and thanks to that, they now know these things aren't impossible to kill. But the kid is not happy to hear that. He's starting to doubt the mission even more. If there's an entire army of those things, it's going to be tough. As he walks forward, however, he finds something strange. There are bodies of dead adventurers everywhere, all of them headless. He recognizes them as the Cygnus Knights. He wonders what the hell happened here for everyone to be beheaded. Just then, one of the people, still alive, groans in a corner. Gibo tells the hero to look, pointing out the survivor who's completely busted up. He asks what happened, questioning if they were attacked by an ogre, but the man says it was nothing like that, claiming it was an assassin. Meanwhile, someone thinks this makes no sense. Assassins are people who can enter certain portals that others can't. Their only purpose is to collect information and kill other adventurers. The portal would disappear right after being completed. And just like that, all the evidence would vanish too. This time, however, it's a no-win fight. They'd have to clear this difficult portal, wasting energy with a minimal crew. Even if they cleaned up their tracks, they wouldn't escape suspicion from people outside. After all, the adventurers in the portal are elites from the merchant unions, so this doesn't add up. And even if this was the assassin's goal, if the news somehow spread, they'd have to wage war with all the other merchant groups. A dangerous gamble like that isn't something a merchant union would take part in. So, if it's not another union trying to steal something, it means there's something more going on here. So what the heck happened? Gibo asks. And Paul says it's been a while since he's seen that girl. Hearing this, the other guy gets furious, since it's all his fault. The thought of a traitor among them is just absurd. He asks why Lady Kiri is like this, and Palm says he doesn't understand how she, a member of the Cygnus Knights, could be an assassin. But the other guy says he doesn't get it either, and it's still hard for him to process everything. However, he says the orders she gave at the portal's entrance now seem like part of her plan. He says that before finishing things, she herself said she was a follower of the Black Mage. The two are shocked by this. Our hero then explains about the Black Mage. He says that 800 years ago, he was a transcendent being who threatened the entire world with his followers. To stop him, the 6 heroes took command, and the war was focused entirely on the Black Mage and his forces. When he was sealed away and the Black Mage's army was in chaos, the Allied forces began to advance, killing all of his followers. The hero says any citizen of Maple World would know this. So Gibo can't believe she's a follower of the Black Mage, but Palm says this isn't the time to worry about other things, so they must go after her. He asks if the other guy is coming with them, because he must be prepared to fight her when they find her. He replies that's exactly what he wants. Meanwhile, The girl is running hard until she comes face to face with a mage. William says he was waiting for Lady Kiri, noting that it seems she was the one who dealt with the feta pigs. He says they were able to proceed with their plan without any issues, since everyone was separated. Now they can end this slowly. He asks if she received the present they sent. The girl is furious, demanding to know who the hell they are. Meanwhile, Gibo tells the knight they can go a bit slower if he wants, since the boss went on ahead anyway. The guy says thanks, but that he's fine. Then he charges straight at the assassins, but a man with a dagger attacks her. William watches from a distance, thinking it's incredible, as expected from the captain of the Cygnus Knights. But he wonders for how much longer she can hold out. The girl doesn't stop there. Instead of just fighting with her sword, she also activates her magic, unleashing the rising sun on her blade and imbuing it with that energy. An assassin gets close to the girl, saying it's time to die, and attacks with everything she has. But Kiri simply fakes her out and uses her sword to cut the woman up like a Lego, with her head, leg, and arm each flying off in a different direction from her solar strike. With that, she's exhausted. She looks at them and demands they reveal their purpose if they don't want to die right there. And William says she's annoying, asking what they're doing. He orders them to hurry up and kill her, and all three of them charge the girl together. But something happens. Several of them are diced up and cut down from all sides. William is terrified, and it turns out Gibo is the one who jumped in front, saving the girl at the last second. A few moments earlier, while our hero was fighting the knight, he told Gibo not to worry, because the boss is very skilled. The knight said he understood, and that it was great. He then takes his dagger and tries to kill the main character from behind, telling Gibo to give his regards to Kiri when he finds her. But his plans are completely ruined, and he ends up losing his hand from a single blow from our hero, who blasts it off with his fire shot. The guy is screaming about his severed hand, and Gibo asks what's happening. Our hero says that, just as he suspected, his little lie was pretty pathetic. He says he's sorry, but he doesn't have a habit of trusting anyone, finishing the guy off right there. Then, William thinks that this is strange, because he wasn't expecting an unwanted guest to show up. One of the minions tells William that he's from the Gafu Merchant Union. The fact that they're alive means Pitin, that cowardly rat who couldn't take his own life, simply failed. He says he even gave him a second chance. He started to wonder if he'd messed up, but William just kept complaining that this whole situation was irritating. Since the two of them seemed pretty tough, he declared it was time for the elite to play, and his whole crew gathered to finish them off. But Kier warned Gibo to watch out. Gibo shot back that he knew, guessing they were a bunch of creeps. The girl asked what he was even talking about, and William ordered them to end it quickly, sending in 3 more guys. Gibo bragged that the girl could handle at least one of them while he took care of the rest, but she just told him not to let his guard down. One of the assassins lunged with a wild strike, coming at them full force, but Gibo dodged and swung his axe, aiming to take the guy's head clean off, who ducked just in the nick of time. Gibo smirked. "Looks like you're done for." But just then, a piercing attack shot toward him, and he had to yank his head back to avoid getting a new ear hole. Then the girl launched a fire arrow straight at him. He realized these bastards were actually strong, as another assassin warped behind him using an upper charge. He nearly finished Gibo, but only managed to wound his back. The assassin hissed, "Not deep enough. Don't worry, I'll put you out of your misery right now." Leaping forward with another attack, he yelled, "What are you doing?" But as he closed in, Gibo vanished, reappearing right behind him with blinding speed. "Stop screaming," Gibo said. "After all, I was just playing with you," before slicing him in half. Enraged, the spear-wielding assassin attacked with everything he had, but Gibo dodged every single blow. He unleashed an explosive cut, forcing the spearman to backpedal to avoid getting sliced. Stumbling backward, he screamed, "How can you be this strong?" Meanwhile, Kier kicked one of his buddies into the others. "How disappointing," she scoffed as they all tumbled over. Then she asked William, "You call these guys elite?" They were completely frustrated to be losing so badly. William sighed, "It seems I'll have to interfere. This is clearly the best you can do. You've wasted enough of my time." Suddenly, Gibo saw him summon a fire arrow, and it came hurtling straight for his eyes. He realized it was even faster than the boss's arrow, and an explosion erupted right in front of him. William noted that he dropped his guard just because it was a fire arrow. He knew this attack was on a completely different level, but it wasn't like he could have dodged it anyway. "It's over," William declared. "Now, we'll finally clear this portal." But then he froze in shock. The protagonist appeared out of nowhere, stopping the explosion cold, and stared William down, even with one of his eyes knocked askew. "Who the hell are you?" he demanded. The protagonist used telekinesis, saying, "Save that for later, we have other guests," and summoned one of those ribbon pigs, except this one was gigantic. He hurled it at William's party, and the massive pig sent them all flying. After a brutal fight, William finally killed the last of them. "What a pain," he grumbled. "They ran off after throwing that thing at us." He called out to Gerald, who apologized, saying he was finishing up on his side. No time to regroup, William ordered. We're going after them. Everyone agreed. If they somehow escape this portal, we're in deep crap. This whole situation is starting to give me a headache, he said. That guy from before seemed like trouble. There's just something about him that bothers me. Gerald pointed out he could see tracks over here. If you see the man in the cloak first, just hold him, William commanded. I'll take care of him myself. But Gerald hesitated, saying there was no need for that. I know it's not my place to say, he started, but that guy didn't seem like just some random punk. William scoffed. Are you worried about me? Do you even know who I am? It's impossible for anyone in this portal to be stronger than me, blindly trusting the power given to him by his superior. Meanwhile, the protagonist was with Gibo, who asked, did you see their faces at the end? I wonder if they'll even survive those pigs. But the protagonist replied, they won't die that easily. Forget about that. You should watch where you're going. There could be traps. Gibo said he was on high alert, but asked, why didn't you finish them back there? You could have aimed for an opening. But the main character simply stated, because William is stronger than me. Gibo couldn't even believe it. He thought back to that fire arrow aimed at Gibo, remembering its speed and power. He had barely managed to stop it. He recalled that even after setting off an explosion to slow it down, it still kept coming for him. He explained, my fire arrow barely changed its direction, and it didn't affect his at all. Gibo refused to believe William could be stronger, asking if he was joking and why he would say something like that. So, we really just ran away? Gibo asked. Yes, the protagonist confirmed, showing him a ring. It seems the circle has grown to its absolute limit. Gibo asked why that happened. The protagonist explained, depending on its thickness, even using the same type of magic can create a huge difference in power and speed. And since he's at the peak of the second circle, he should be my equal, or even stronger. But his magic has something extra that I can't quite understand. Since he was able to enter this portal, I'm sure he's also a second circle mage. I have no doubt about that. But somehow, he's strengthened his abilities. It's fair to say he's the strongest adventurer in this portal right now. Gibo was floored. So what should we do? Should we try that tactic from earlier again? But the protagonist shot that idea down. It won't be that easy. Ogres are different from simple ribbon pigs. They can figure out who we are and use that against our enemies. Kier cut in, asking, what are you talking about? Don't you understand the situation we're in? The important thing is that a follower of the Black Mage was hiding among the Cygnus Knights, and that's a huge piece of intel that could change the future of Maple World. We should get outside first, she insisted. You should give up on clearing this portal. But the protagonist just said, it's useless. Gibo asked, what are you talking about? She sneered. I know you used to be a slave, as expected. Are you still chasing that tiny completion reward? But the protagonist just asked, after you warn the people outside, what will you do then? Do you really think that's the best way to get rid of them? Don't underestimate these guys. His followers have been hiding for hundreds of years, putting down roots. Exposing them does nothing. We need to go deeper than just cutting off one branch. If they decide to go back into hiding, no one will ever be able to find them. They'll become parasites that consume Maple World where no one can see. She was pissed. So this won't work, that won't work. Then what do you want us to do? Don't just talk crap without a plan. We're being hunted right now. We need to get out of here. But the protagonist simply replied, then we should let them know who the real hunters are. As William's group chased them, one of his lackeys said, we need to find them, and fast. If they escape through that portal, it's our necks on the line. But just then, Kiba appears from the shadows, a casual hey before he lunges, almost taking the guy's head clean off. They think he's a damn fool. They came here looking for him, and he's sure he's about to end this. Suddenly, a tripwire is sliced. The attack slams into the guy's back with crushing force, instantly paralyzing him. The girl finally realizes what's happening. Gibo scoffs, asking if Goatee really thinks he can get distracted mid-fight. He hurls his axe straight at him, but the kid dives in, trying to land a blow with his dagger. But Gibo sidesteps the attack, locking eyes with him for a split second. Then he drives a knee forward, slamming it home with brutal force. He drops his axe and goes all in. It's time for some old-fashioned brawling, descending into the rawest form of combat. A pure, no-holds-barred fistfight. The other girl thinks about shooting him with her crossbow, but she hesitates, wondering what the hell is going on. She's frozen, unable to do a thing in the middle of that slugfest. And that's when Kier appears behind her, ready for the kill shot, but her target dodges just in time. The assault doesn't stop there. Kier brings her sword down in a vicious overhead arc, forcing the girl to desperately defend with her own weapon. Kier snarls, you shouldn't have looked away. I'm getting real tired of how this is playing out. Meanwhile, William is standing alone. He mutters, looks like they've started, but there's still one person I'm curious about. Were you waiting for me? And there he is. Our hero stands face to face with William. Fine. If you don't want to talk, William smirks. I guess we should get started too. In unison, they both summon a fire arrow. A sick grin spreads across William's face as he unleashes his magic. The fire arrow screams towards our hero. The boy dashes from side to side, launching his own fiery projectile straight back at William. William thinks this is incredible, getting a pure, twisted thrill from this battle. They stand facing each other again, and our hero watches to see if his shot landed. But William emerges from the smoke with another attack. Our hero realizes it's another rock projectile, but as he dodges, William is suddenly right behind him, whispering, "Is that all you've got?" He activates a fire arrow at point-blank range, but somehow our hero manages to evade the massive blast. From within the inferno, William watches the boy, who's now in seriously bad shape. He's stunned he managed to dodge that. It was completely unexpected. He was certain he didn't have the power to block it. He wonders, "How did you do that?" Our hero just glares at him in silence. William notes that he isn't much of a talker. "Fair enough," he says. "It's not like we can have a casual chat in the middle of a fight. I guess I'll just have to find out for myself," he declares, launching another fire arrow straight at the boy. But our hero brandishes his revolver to counter the magic. William is floored, realizing he's using telekinesis to spin the fire arrow. It looks like a drill that's tearing right through his magic. He's never seen anything like it. Our hero's attack barrels straight towards him. William thinks this is unbelievable, unable to hide the shock on his face. The kid actually strengthened his ability using telekinesis. And now, it all clicks into place. "So, you're the type of person they call a genius. You know, that's the type I hate the most." He challenges our hero to have some more fun, telling him to show what else he's capable of. In response, our hero simply uses telekinesis, raising a shield of rocks in front of him, but William's magic passes right through it. "What are you doing? Is hiding all you can manage?" he taunts. Then our hero activates his telekinesis once more, almost hitting William with his own fire arrow. William ducks just in time and asks, "Since when were you using that?" The boy continues to make the fire arrow swerve and turn in every direction, nearly hitting William every single time. But he keeps leaping around like a gazelle, escaping the projectile until he can launch another fire arrow of his own. He's furious now, yelling that he's done playing games. But our hero aims his revolver, firing his own fire arrow toward William's. William thinks his opponent has finally used both his shots. He appears behind the boy, using a ring to unleash poison breath at point-blank range. He admits the attack is useful, but it leaves him full of openings while he summons it. He asks if he isn't a fire and telekinesis user, saying he figured he could seal his attacks if he forced his fire arrows into a cooldown. "And now you can't do anything for 30 minutes, he sneers. "My fire arrow is on cooldown too, so you'll have to forgive me for finishing this with my dagger. Now this is my favorite part," he says. He can't wait any longer. He's dying to see the look of despair on his face, like a complete psycho licking his own dagger. He asks if the boy is going to tremble or cry, but our hero simply moves in close and plants a solid punch right in the middle of William's face. And that punch is just as satisfying as a legendary beatdown, sending him flying and crushing the bone in that thing's face. After that punch, he remembers Ibero, asking how they managed to beat the madness-inducing poison mushroom. He had asked Gibo, questioning if it was okay to tell him now that his boss was gone. He even offered to pay for the information. Gibo told him it would be useless even if he told him, since it's not something you can do just because you want to. He said he called it Sala, explaining that it's a skill that uses telekinesis to pull and trap the air. He said that just when he thought they were done for, he pulled all the poison out of the area. There was nothing special to it. Ibero asked if that wasn't cheating. Gibo said that's what he was talking about. The boss with his skills is a complete cheat. Back in the present, our hero continues to beat William senseless, going into full barbarian mode now that his mana is gone. William is completely wrecked, trying to use his poison again. But while he's talking, our hero delivers an uppercut, making him bite his own tongue and stopping him from saying anything else. After that punch, he lands several more to the abdomen, knocking him out completely and sending him flying. He then grabs the staff, preparing another fire arrow for William, wanting to close his coffin with a golden key. After that UFC-worthy beating, our hero rips William's arm off. He falls to the ground, trembling and groaning in pain, but still activates his ring, releasing that poison towards our hero. But our main character uses telekinesis to create the Sala, trapping all the poison and keeping him from being exposed to any kind of threat. He asks if William is trying to trick him. He acts like a lunatic, but he's actually scheming something. Since his poison breath didn't work, he must be trying to get his staff back. So he tells William to come and get it, because that's when he'll finish him. But what he didn't expect was to be attacked from behind. He's surprised and has to get out of the way quickly. William himself somehow manages to cast magic again. Like a complete psychopath, he gets up, saying he's going to end our hero and break him into pieces. Our hero is far away after taking that fireball, completely wrecked. He realizes he let his guard down and didn't expect him to have an orb of flames as a trump card. He wouldn't have made that mistake if he were the him from before the regression. Another fireball comes at him as he thinks that he's lost his touch. Gibo notices that his boss might be struggling a bit. Meanwhile, Kier takes the head off the Lancer and tells Gibo to stop playing around and put an end to it, because his opponent is too strong for him to handle alone. Gibo snaps back that he was already on it, telling her to stop bossing him around, but as he moves, an arrow whistles through the air, instantly killing the man beside them. Just then, a horde of ogres crashes the scene, charging straight for the two of them. He realizes he'd been wondering where they were, but he's shocked to see they're green ogres. "Our goal is to end this, and end it fast," he declares. "Don't underestimate them. These guys are not going to be easy." He also points out a really strange one among them, probably the leader, who even has a pompadour on his head. He looks like a discount Hulk. Meanwhile, our hero is facing William, who thinks he's finally won, but then his opponent spits out a mouthful of blood. After taking such a beating, he admits his opponent wasn't half bad. He thinks maybe he went too far. He should have at least asked for his name before killing him. But a voice cuts through the silence. It's El Palm. The man is shocked. There's no way he's still alive. Our hero smirks. "You'd better remember it, since it's the last name you'll ever hear." William scoffs, calling him a disgusting cockroach. "It's pathetic," he sneers. "Even if you try to bluff with those skills of yours, it won't do you any good." But the boy admits it's nearly impossible to catch him with only 2 magic circles. And clutched in his hand is the one thing that will completely change the course of this battle. He realizes it's a mana stone and starts laughing maniacally. "You miserable psycho," he shouts. "Is this your last hope, to absorb a mana stone and raise your circle? You're such an idiot," he continues. "Just absorbing a mana stone won't raise your circle. You need knowledge gained from countless real experiences." "That's exactly right," our hero says as he begins to absorb the stone's power. "You were talking about experience and knowledge?" In that instant, William feels something wrong, as a magic circle forms automatically. "Don't worry," El Palm says coolly. "I have more than enough of both." He had finally reached the 3rd circle. William scoffs. "Are you trying to scare me with those bluffs again?" he screams. "Just die!" and launches his attack. But our hero's fire arrow cuts right through his attack with ease. William tries to use a flame orb as well, but El Palm uses his telekinesis to make the projectile spin wildly, and the bullet redirects straight for William's head, who lets out a final scream as he's hit. El Palm realizes he just did something insane, leaving nothing but a charred corpse in the middle of mass destruction. And then he remembers he forgot to ask William's name after killing him like that. At that moment, the ogres finally arrive, hunting the 2 survivors. Gibo is so injured he needs to be carried by Kiri as they hide. "This is getting complicated," she mutters. Just moments earlier, Gibo had gone on a rampage, single-handedly killing 17 of them. "What is happening to you?" she asks. "He's taking down these monsters way too easily." "It's easy," he says. "I can see their movement patterns clearly now." An ogre lunges at the boy, trying to hit him, but Gibo moves like a blur through the trees, gracefully dodging all of its attacks. But as he charges at another ogre, he's hit. The leader managed to snipe him with a perfect shot. Kiri stares in shock. That was an orbital flame. She wonders how a monster could possibly use that. A monster being able to use a magical item is something she never could have expected. This is way too problematic. She thinks they have no choice but to stay hidden until they can find El Palm, and she just hopes he's still alive. But suddenly, an ogre ambushes them, nearly grabbing them both, and she's forced to run while carrying Gibo. The monsters continue to chase them down, and one of them blocks their path. The girl has to throw Gibo high into the air while using her sword to kill the creature. As he falls, she catches him again, realizing how much help he is. She can't leave him behind. She thinks she can handle the situation if they come one at a time. But just then, a fireball nearly takes her head off, and the monster laughs. She thinks everything will be fine. As long as that thing isn't her opponent. It keeps launching fireballs at her, and she's nearly hit while running. But the explosion is suddenly blocked by Gibo, who has woken up. She's on the ground as he shields her. He doesn't show any emotion at all, and simply charges back at the monsters. He starts cutting them down in a totally new way, one after the other, eliminating each with just a single blow. He kills them effortlessly, causing enormous explosions, and Kiri thinks this is unbelievable. He walks straight toward the leader, and she wonders if this boy is really just at the first circle. Gibo has a crazed look in his eyes. The ogre, seeing the axe coming at it, gets excited and unleashes another fireball at point-blank range. Gibo is thrown back on top of Kiri with his axe, and she has to catch him to keep him from smashing into the ground. And the monster looks happy, or it should have been, because it ends up getting hit by Gibo's attack anyway. It gets extremely pissed and summons another fireball. Kiri tells Gibo to fall back, because she's going to handle things from here on out. And when it launches the attack, they don't have many options, except for the girl to try and stop it herself. But then, one of our hero's shots pierces the fireball and goes straight through the ogre leader. The beast wonders what's happening, and there he is, our main character, transformed, with his fireball and telekinesis. He says, "Looks like I didn't get here too late." Man, this is on another level. This main character knows how to make an entrance. Meanwhile, the guard who stayed outside says it's already been 4 days, but there's been no sign of them. He says he was happy to get some easy money, but his body is starting to get restless. He says lazing around isn't his style and that he's going to have to turn down defense missions from now on. But then he wonders why it's so noisy, and the portal begins to collapse. He's shocked to see it. The gate is closing. A woman in front of him shouts for him to go get the bishop now. He asks Kiri what's going on, demanding a situation report. She tells Long that some people have returned, and seeing the gate disappear, the raid has been completed. He's surprised that those 3 made it back. A while later, our hero wakes up in an infirmary, and Lonko says that it seems he's finally awake. He asks where he is, and Lonko tells him to listen. "You better tell the truth about what I'm about to ask," he says, "because it seems that of all the groups, only the 3 of you from the Garford merchant group survived." Then he asks, "What happened inside that portal?" Hearing this, our main character starts to feel uneasy about what he's being told. He says he thought this might happen, but to think that everyone else died, Lonko tells him to answer properly, unless he wants to lose the life he fought so hard to save. So the main character starts talking about a demon that was inside, and Lonko is surprised. Our hero asks for a paper and a pencil, saying he'll draw it for him. He says he doesn't know what it's called, but when Lonko sees the drawing, he closes his eyes and just accepts it. A while later, they tell him it makes no sense at all, because there were a total of 100 people, and on top of that, they were all elites, each one representing a merchant union. And even if it was a portal for 100 people, it was still just a red portal. He asks if they really expect him to believe that everyone died because of monsters, saying they shouldn't have even broken a sweat fighting any monster in there. The lady from the Sky Merchant Union says that her cousin was among them. Then Lonko says that he didn't seem to be lying, saying that the boss of the 100-person portal looked just like that. And they realize that it's a green ogre. And if it's a green ogre, they remember that they are highly capable of using items. One guy mentions hearing that those things are so smart, a huge battle against them is no different from fighting a human army. Sending only 100 people against that monster couldn't have been easy. But another guy isn't buying it, declaring he's Franco, from the Goldrick merchants. He says he doesn't know about the others, but there's no way in hell Natasha would lose to something like that. Longico asks him what he's even talking about. Franco scoffs, questioning if he's asking because he genuinely doesn't know, and says this whole thing reeks of sabotage. None of it makes any sense unless someone from the inside betrayed them all. After you enter the portal, it's impossible to know what's happening. Someone could easily take advantage of that, whether it was planned or not. It also seems a little too convenient that the only 3 survivors are from the same group. Abe's has heard enough of this garbage and snaps back, asking if he's seriously accusing Garford of cheating everyone. He questions the whole situation just because someone on his side advanced to the 3rd circle and survived, while the others didn't. The scared little rich boy asks if he's trying to say their merchant unions aren't as good as Garford. He fires back that whether he's trying to or not, he's just stating the facts as they are. They keep going at it, because the guy in red absolutely refuses to accept the outcome. Longico wonders if they're done yet. The man with the mustache finally says that if he's going to throw around accusations, he'd better have some proof. He challenges him on that point, stating they didn't bring a single item out of the portal and had 0 motive, asking if he understands that. And just like that, after a while, the main character says he's heading back. He thanks Longico and just dips. Someone asks Longico if it's really okay to let them go like that. He asks the girl if they hadn't already reached a conclusion, and after a moment, the main character is gone. He spots a snail over there and asks if they're seeing this, because the little thing actually followed them. It's a pretty cute snail, and our hero remembers Kier asking him something while they were still inside. She had asked why he was hesitating, since they already took care of the Dark Mage's followers and wiped out the green ogres and other monsters. So all they needed to do was dump all the items and get a little banged up before leaving. But the main character hesitates, thinking about the feather that Mage was carrying. And he tells himself that's the right call. Killing the boss and dumping the items would be the best move. But the items he scored, especially the Phoenix Feather, just holding it could boost his fire magic by 30%. And unlike other items whose effects don't stack, this one's does. So he concludes that this must be the reason everyone else was wiped out. He thinks he finally gets it now. This is an unexpected jackpot, and he has to get it out, no matter what. She argues that if they take anything that wasn't registered beforehand, it'll raise suspicions of sabotage, asking if he wasn't the one who reminded them of that. Then she tells him not to get greedy and to just stick to the plan, since they already found the exit portal. But then he notices a snail, and it's the pet snail. Unlike other monsters, it has no attack power at all, but it wanders around looking for and collecting items. And the more items it collects, the larger its shell becomes. He remembers it's a life form that was discovered after the portal opened in his past life, and that little creature hands him those 2 feathers. She asks if he really managed to bring them out without getting caught, and how he even knew about using the snail. He just says he figured it was better to try something than to just accept leaving with nothing. She then questions what's next, since she did everything he asked, wondering what he's planning from here. He tells her not to rush things. Since they've successfully infiltrated the Cygnus Knights, they have to be extremely careful gathering information. If they aren't cautious, their enemies might just go deeper into hiding. He says the others should be back by now, so they'll just wait. The scene shifts to people talking about all the members who died, saying they were completely annihilated and that the raid was a total disaster. And the leader who gave the feather to William is furious. The girl reports that the official story is that everyone was killed by the raid boss, and only 3 members from the Garford merchant group barely managed to escape, with suspicion of sabotage raised during the meeting. But Garford was the one being questioned, not them. Still, it was dropped due to a lack of evidence. They say that fortunately, they weren't exposed, even though the mission was a failure. With that said, she announces that she'll prepare for the next mission. However, the leader asks if they weren't caught. She's confused, and he clarifies that his plan was to kill all the other groups and take down the boss themselves. So, at least one of the 3 survivors definitely saw William. But nothing about it was in the report submitted by La Palme. Is there really a reason to cover this up? Even if there was, with their people spread across merchant unions, connecting them to the group would be nearly impossible. And that's exactly why they're hiding it. He realizes that if their enemy knows who's behind this, it's not some merchant union, but times her times followers. They would be the only ones who know the Black Mage's disciples have returned. He wonders what will happen if they decide to leak that information. The girl refuses to believe it, declaring they have to eliminate every last one of them. So, he thinks, this is an invitation, an interesting one, at that. He decides he'll accept it. However, he'll prepare a special reception, making them the first and last guests he ever receives. In another place, a boy reveals his life was a living hell, trapped in an apocalyptic wasteland, swarming with monsters. He says he suffered in crushing poverty, only dreaming of a normal life. All he could do was watch his sister wither away from the black blood disease. He couldn't even give his family a proper grave. This world has always been hell. But then, someone approached the boy, noticing he was the only one left. "Looks like you're going through a tough time," he said. "Do you want some help?" But Debo just told him to get lost. That was his first meeting with Aaron. Sometime later, they're facing off against ferocious monsters. Debo boasts he's in first place, while another guy grumbles that he would be if he were just 30 seconds faster. The girl announces the cleanup is complete. She tells Debo he focuses too much on looking cool, which just frustrates him. Aran declares that everything seems to be handled, and tells them it's time to go. He says that 1 year was all it took to make him see life in a completely different way. She was a hero who was never swayed by emotion, but possessed a kind heart. She protected people, always leading from the front, forging a new path. He says watching her made him see the world in a better light, and his goal naturally became to help her. Just then, another group member starts making fun of him for doing the dishes ever since the abandoned mine, calling it hilarious. But Debo snaps back that it's only because he wasn't in top condition. The guy retorts, "Of course this can't be all the great Sir Dio can do, not the self-proclaimed disciple of Aaron." He taunts that Debo needs to keep up if he ever wants to be recognized, but Debo just tells him to drop it already. Aran asks Sharon if this was the right direction. She confirms, pointing to a mark left on the roof, but adds that somehow it feels different. She wonders if a place like this ever even existed in the Elna Mountains. A while later, the same girl pleads with Aaron again. She begs, saying it's too dangerous to go to the abandoned mine in the Os area alone. No one else is willing to go with her, and she needs Aran's help if she ever wants to find her brother. But Aaron coldly replies she's asking the wrong person, as she doesn't take personal requests like this. The plea that her presence is a necessity is useless. While she'd theoretically be a guide, someone at the third circle would just be dead weight. Besides, she says there's no guarantee her brother is even alive, telling the girl to ask another adventurer. But then Debo steps in, apologizing for interrupting. He explains that they're probably her last hope. After what happened the other day, no adventurer will go near the Cave of Challenges. He says he wants to help her, promising he'll keep her safe. He asks Aaron if she can't please reconsider. Because of Debo's insistence, they head to the mine. Inside, they find a dead man. The girl confirms that's not her brother. Aaron acknowledges this, wondering if she should be relieved. But the way this person died is extremely strange. It doesn't look like he was killed by monsters. In fact, he seems to have been dead for over a week. As they look closer, they realize they recognize the man. But there's no time to think. A gigantic boulder suddenly hurtles toward them, nearly crushing the entire party. Debo manages to save the girl, wondering what in the world just happened. When they look up, a monster appears. Azakam is attacking them. Debo tells the girl to stay behind him as he charges the beast. But Aaron is faster, sending the monster flying with a single axe blow. She tells Dio they'll take the left flank, and he vows to end this quickly, charging in with the others. They engage the massive, multi-armed beast, attacking from all sides. The girl who requested the mission, meanwhile, just watches from a distance and spots a hole in the middle of the wall. They finally defeat the monster, and Debo pants that it was as tough as the rumors claimed. But the paladin with them says she can't find Sharon anywhere. Debo is shocked, but when he looks over, he only sees the girl's stuffed animal on the ground. Did she go through that opening? Why would she act alone? Aran's voice cuts through the confusion, telling everyone to get ready. Though she doesn't know what it is, there's a powerful aura coming from inside. Is something in there? They ask. I'm not sure, she replies, but I can tell it's strong, and it's going to be dangerous. Debo, however, declares he's bringing Sharon back. Protecting her is his duty, and they must secure this place. The paladin urges Debo to calm down, asking if he didn't hear what Aran just said, but Aran cuts her off. I'm going with him. She explains that whatever is in there, it's a threat to the Maple world, and it's her job to deal with it. So, they decide to enter together. They find themselves in a cavern filled with bubbling magma everywhere. They're terrified by the sight. Sharon is standing on an altar, next to a fallen person. As the group arrives, they're shocked to see her there next to the body. Sharon confirms that it's her brother, but Aran and Debo both feel something is terribly wrong. Debo shouts for Sharon to stay put and not to move, promising he's coming to get her. But through her tears, the girl begins to smile. You really came, she says. I knew you would. You're such a good person. But now, there's no turning back. He asks her what she's talking about. Debo, she asks, do you know the meaning of the name Zakum? It means the devil's tree. While many believe the moving statues are Zakum, they are merely mediums the real Zakum uses. This giant tree, asterisk this times, is the true Zakum, and you still have to deal with its real body. What are you saying? Debo demands. Aran thanks her for the information. To think it had a main body. This is incredible. She tells Sharon to stay back while she kills the tree, warning her to hide so she doesn't get crushed in the chaos. But then Aran adds a chilling question. Or, is there something else you still need to do? Like, for instance, using your brother as a sacrifice? The girl smirks. It seems you still don't understand. This all began the moment you stepped inside. She holds up a core in her hand, which ignites with dark energy before shattering. Zakum uses mediums, and they aren't limited to just statues. In that instant, the paladin thrusts her sword straight through Debo's stomach. When Aran whips around in shock, the other group member attacks her with a devastating blow. As Debo collapses, he gasps, Miriam, what are you doing? Before freezing in horror, the girl's form has twisted completely into that of a demon. You, she snarls, her voice dripping with venom, are the one who killed my friends. And Sharon just watches, coldly saying, there's nothing you can do. To them, they're nothing but targets for revenge. And now, it's time for the grand finale. She calls out to the real Zack, telling him to put on his best show and finish this performance. The girl is completely transformed, with snow-white hair, stark white clothes, and skin as pale as a ghost. She declares that this is how it must be done for the Dark Magic Lord. Alright, I was not expecting that at all. And I love how this series just keeps hitting us with twist after twist. With that, the monster starts to unleash absolute hell down on them. Dio wonders if she's been possessed by Zakun, but Aran screams at him, stop acting like a kid and end this already. That's not Amanda anymore. He just says, I know. His eyes locked on the corrupted form of his former friend. Tapping into a surge of adrenaline, Aram unleashes a devastating upward slash at the monster, slicing through stone pillars and severing part of the beast's arm. Debo was completely shattered, consumed by a storm of self-hatred, realizing he'd screwed everything up. He never should have told them to come here. Now, a member of their team was already dead. He lunges toward Mira, his mind screaming that this is all his fault. His strike lands dead center in her chest, sending a spray of blood everywhere as he finishes her, whispering a final apology. But before she falls, she surges forward one last time. He reacts instantly, cutting her down completely, only to realize it wasn't an attack. With her last bit of strength, she gently touches his face, thanking him and begging him to take care of Aaron. The weight of his failure crushes him all over again. Elsewhere, Aaron confronts the true Zakum, wondering if this is its main body. She steels herself, ready to tear down this cursed tree and end it all. But then, right in the middle of that chaos, a hand shot out from the tree, catching her completely off guard. It lunged for her, trying to snatch her up, but she somehow twisted out of the attack's range as Debo screamed, "We have to finish that thing now." The two of them brace themselves, ready to unleash hell and shatter that thing to pieces. But as they move in, Debo takes a direct hit, barely stopping the massive hand before it crushes him. He starts screaming at the creature as the monster tries to pulverize him. Then, that apostle girl who led them here, now fully transformed, lunges at Debo. She shrieks about offering her life to her master, a dagger aimed straight for his heart. But Aaron isn't having it. She moves like a flash of lightning, cutting the girl down before she can even blink. Now, she sees only the statue remains. Debo warns that this thing won't go down so easily. Just then, he's hit by a psychic assault from the statue. It tries to invade his mind, to take over his body, and he staggers back, clearly overwhelmed by the attack. Aaron screams, asking if he's being controlled, but he just yells back, telling her to kill him, and fast, before he's forced to do something he'll regret forever. Aura begins to swirl around her as she grips her axe, begging him for forgiveness. But Debo just gives her a broken smile, thinking this is the end he deserves, a punishment for his own stupid mistakes. He apologizes to everyone in his head. Because of him, this is the end of their team. He urges Aran to hurry, but then his eyes go wide with shock. He frantically looks around and sees his sister? He questions why she's here. Who could have brought her? Then, his eyes lock onto the woman with the axe right in front of him. How dare you? He seethes. But Aaron, totally misunderstanding, tells him not to worry, that she'll make this quick. But Debo's rage explodes. How dare you bring my sister here? He roars. I'll never forgive you. The monster attacks Aaron, and right beside it is a fully transformed Debo, trapped in an illusion that's making him attack his own friend. She dodges his first axe swing, but he follows up, driving his knee right at her. She just remarks that his senses are annoyingly sharp. They clash in a raw, hand-to-hand brawl, both desperately trying to land a blow while Aaron retreats, trying to avoid killing her own disciple. In the chaos of battle, she unleashes a sweeping slash aimed right at the creature's hand. Debo loses track of her as she drops behind him. The moment he turns, she uses her throwing axe to cleave through the statue, hitting Debo in the process. She then leaps onto the statue, getting close to its face, declaring she'll end this once and for all with her final attack. Just as she prepares to kill it for good, that idiot Debo appears on the creature's forehead, attacking Aaron yet again. She starts cursing him out, screaming that this is their only chance and that she can't stop now. She unleashes her ultimate attack upon the creature, and right on top of the boy, apologizing as she does. After that final attack cuts through the trees and everything in its path, the boy, incredibly, is still alive. He's wondering what's happening, questioning if Sakam even survived. She says that it looks like he's finally back to his old self, and that it's a good thing. But there's already an axe buried deep in her chest. She tells him she thought she'd have to leave without saying goodbye. Gibo is completely horrified, refusing to believe what's happening. He screams that this can't be their farewell. He told her to kill him, asking why she's the one dying, why she's the one who's hurt. She tells Debo they already failed once, 800 years ago, and she's no longer the one who will stop the Black Mage. But he has immense talent, far beyond what she had at his age. He tries to protest, saying he could never become as strong as her, even if he had an eternity. But in that moment, the girl starts to smile, telling him she's leaving Maple World in his hands. She's certain he'll succeed, since he's her one and only disciple. Then she says she's feeling a little tired, and that she's going to sleep for a bit. He begs Aran to wake up, screaming for her to open her eyes. But just like that, Aaron closed her eyes forever, and now he had to be the one to tell the other heroes. So he stood up, grabbed that axe, and kept moving forward. He says he eventually left that place. Without Aaron, there was nothing for him there. It was hell. Because he couldn't protect the life goal he had barely found. Because he couldn't atone for his sins. He couldn't even grant the last request of someone so precious to him. That place was truly horrible. He kept fighting until the very end. But this time, he wakes up peacefully in a bed. His sister is surprised he's already awake, saying she was worried since he was unconscious, even without any injuries. She also says he was talking in his sleep, asking if he had some kind of nightmare. He asks if it was all a dream, because he can't remember anything. Just then, someone knocks on the door. She wonders who it is, since she wasn't expecting anyone. She tells her brother someone came to see him. He's surprised when he gets up and sees Palm. Palm tells Debo that their plans have been moved up, ordering him to get ready as fast as possible. The boy asks Palmy if he ever gets a break. He retorts, asking if Debo hasn't rested enough already. Then he asks what's with the sudden change of plans. Debo says he'll have to borrow some money, and that $200,000 for 1 month should be enough. But Palm says it's impossible, since he doesn't have that kind of money. Then, moments before, he was speaking with the guild master. He questions her about the ogre base. He says they killed all 97 people, but he only managed to survive because he increased his circle. So Paul tells me, yeah, that's the deal. But the supervisor isn't buying it for a second, asking what the hell he's planning with all this whining. He claims to know nothing else, revealing this only now. But he'll only get rewarded for the portal clear once he gathers enough intel. He must be desperate for the cash. Palm smirks, realizing the guild leader made a huge mistake. He declares he wants to settle his debts first. He slams a bag of money on the table. That's 2 million misos, he says. We're even now. Abbott is stunned, asking how he could have possibly saved up such a massive amount of mesos. The salary they paid him was nowhere near that much. It's clear he's been making money on the side. and the timing of his move. It seems perfectly calculated to exploit the information he has on the portal. Abs finally gets it. "I see," he says, congratulating the kid. "You're a free adventurer now." With that settled, he believes it's time to discuss a new contract. He asks Palm to name his price for a signing bonus, promising to match it as best as he can. So Palme demands 50 million misos. Abs is floored. He yells that the price is absurd. Palme is just a C-rank adventurer. No one would ever pay him that much. But the kid just scoffs. Then this conversation is over. He gets up and walks out. Abs is left speechless, wondering what just happened. Outside, Debo rushes over and asks what's wrong. Palme says the guildmaster rejected him after hearing his signing bonus. When Debo asks how much, Palme reveals the number, 50 million misos. Debo is completely shocked. "Chief, are you insane?" But Palme just shakes his head. Debo complains that he's always pulling these stunts without telling him anything, then asks why they came to this part of town. Palme asks if he recognizes this place. Debo scoffs, asking how could he not? This is the slums, a place he fought tooth and nail to escape when he was just a kid. And while the place he lives now isn't exactly the best, compared to this hellhole, it's a paradise. He heard rumors that this area was supposed to become the most vibrant district in Liz, but that's just ancient history. Now, it's nothing but a den of criminals. Probably the worst place on all of Victoria Island. Suddenly, a few girls call out to them, inviting them to come play. Just then, a guy goes flying through the air and lands right near them. They stare in surprise as a group of thugs surrounds the adventurer. The man mutters that he thought things were finally looking up. Palme notes that a fight has broken out and decides it's probably best to just leave. But the guy being beaten spots them and yells, "Hey, my friends! What took you so long?" He claims the thugs started calling him a thief and ganged up on him, begging for help. He then whispers for them to please save him. Debo has no idea what this crazy bastard is talking about, but the thugs beating him up totally buy that they're all friends. Debo questions if he's serious. The thug leader says his friend over there stole his item and sold it. He says he'll let them go as soon as they pay for it on his behalf, demanding 3 million mesos. Right now. Debo fires back, asking if he actually saw him steal anything. He mocks the thug, asking what he could possibly see with those dead fish eyes of his. He tells him to stop blaming an innocent person and get lost. The thug just curses the little thief, saying he must have a death wish. But just then, the main character tosses out 3 million misos, saying he'll pay. He tells the thug to get lost. Debo immediately asks why he's doing this. Why would he pay for this stranger? Palm just tells the guy, Ralph, to follow him. Ralph is shocked that this stranger knows his name. Later, in a quieter spot, Ralph asks if he really came all this way just to recruit him. He asks about the money, and Palm says it's gone. The 3 million he just threw away was everything he had. Ralph then asks which guild he's with, and the kid replies that he's with no one. "Are you kidding me?" Ralph scoffs, wondering why on earth he would ever join his party. Debo starts losing his temper, telling him to give back the 3 million mesos they just paid for him. Ralph just sneers back. "Did I ask you to pay for me?" He says they acted on their own. Debo gets even more furious. Ralph continues, saying that since they came all this way looking for him, they must know about his skills. "So you should pay me accordingly," he declares. He says he'll give them a special discount and join their party for 3 million mesos. Debo is about to explode, but someone else arrives. A girl named Beju from the Carnia Merchant Union asks if Palme is here. The boy acts as if he was expecting her all along. Ralph is stunned that the Carnia Merchant Union is here. The main character simply says, "That would be me." Beju says it's a great pleasure to finally meet him. She apologizes for the less than ideal setting, but circumstances were unavoidable. She explains that the Carnia Merchant Union highly values his skills, especially after successfully clearing the 100-man gate. She says she won't beat around the bush. They want to recruit his party. Of course, there will be a simple portal raid test as part of the procedure. They'll pay a 3 million advance and a 50 million mesos bonus once they pass the test. Ralph's jaw hits the floor. Beju continues, saying that if he wishes to join, the raid is in 3 days. She hands over the advance, wishes them good luck, and promptly leaves. Even Debo is stunned, calling it an unbelievable stroke of luck. And just like that, the main character tosses the bag of money into Ralph's hands. The money lover's face lights up. Palme says it's the bonus he asked for, explaining the contract term is for 1 year, and he'll get another 7 million after a successful raid. Debo freaks out. "What are you doing?" he yells. "Did you eat something rotten today? You're going to spend 10 million on a guy like him?" But the main character just tells him to get moving, or they'll be late for their next appointment. Debo is shocked that there's still somewhere else they need to be, calling after the main character as he walks away. Debo can't believe it. He's going to meet that blonde girl again. He complains about how noisy she is, and she immediately tells him to shut his mouth, saying she's only here to keep her promise. Sometime later, the 4 of them arrive at the gate. Debo remarks, It's definitely a good day to raid a portal. They see 5 groups in total, numbering over 50 people. He figures that number should be enough to clear the raid, but Ralph just grumbles that bringing all these useless people along will just cut into his share of the profits. Up ahead, Beiju addresses the crowd. She explains that, as they were informed, this portal is an orange-level threat. The maximum entry is 50 people, with 3 distinct markers. She believes that with these numbers, clearing the portal shouldn't be a problem. The main character thinks to himself about the followers. He expected the Merchant Union to contact him, but he never dreamed they'd bring him here. They've already started using this location, and even though the timing is different from his past life, it's a portal he's already cleared once before. Thanks to that, everything is going according to plan. Beiju gives one final instruction. All groups must fire a signal flare if a second portal is discovered inside. Debo is confused about this second portal. She explains that portals are ranked by color, but a second portal means there's another dungeon hidden within the first one. The blonde girl, Laura, chimes in. Since this is an orange portal with 2 gates, we have to raid another dungeon inside of it, she says. Plus, the second portal will have completely different terrain and monsters. Remember that. Hearing this, Ralph realizes they're all newbies. This is bad, he mutters. He turns to Palm and says he wants to make one thing clear. Even though he was hired, that doesn't make Palm the leader. The party leader should be decided by skill. So, Palm sees he's the ambitious type. Fine by me, he says with a smirk. We'll decide the leader based on their contribution in this portal. Ralph grins, thinking to himself, this newbie really fell for it. And just like that, he's the party leader. With a wicked grin, he thinks to himself, now things are about to get interesting. Then he blows them a kiss and wishes them good luck. He finally gets a moment to talk to Debo, reminding him they could earn 50 million for this job. And with that kind of cash on his mind, he wants to wrap this up fast. But Ralph scoffs, asking if he thinks this is some kind of picnic. He's got a feeling their party is about to lose a first circle adventurer today. Debo snaps back, asking what the hell he's talking about. He's had enough and challenges Ralph to a fight right there. But Ralph just dismisses him, saying he won't bother when the outcome is obvious. Besides, he doesn't do things that don't make him money. So Debo starts complaining to the boss, asking why he'd hire a guy like that who's just killing the mood. But when he glances back, he sees people getting eaten alive. A spray of blood hits him right in the face. He freezes in terror, watching his teammates scream for help. Vicious monsters lunge right for him. Debo is nearly devoured, caught between the teeth of a beast as it gives him a slimy lick. But in a flash, Ralph is there to save him. He sends the monster flying with a single, powerful kick. He tells the kid to pay attention. Kier panics, realizing the portal dropped them right in the middle of monster territory as hordes of them charge. In response, Palmy unleashes a fire arrow that ricochets around, taking out several beasts. But he knows. Something's not right. The monsters didn't attack the moment they arrived. This is completely different from its past life. The girl uses her rising sun attack to wipe some out, but the monsters start dodging her slashes with insane agility, escaping again and again. She can't believe it, wondering why she can't predict their movements. Suddenly, she's struck by one of the creatures, and they swarm her, going for the kill. Just then, a few of the monsters drop dead in front of her, and she stares, stunned by the sudden save. Debo is almost hit again, but then, Ralph dives in and starts demolishing the monsters with absurd ease, sending them flying with his bare fists. Debo is totally shocked, watching him obliterate monsters with just his punches. Ralph smirks, saying he's now saved the newbie kid twice, and the sassy young lady once. He boasts about how good it felt, telling them not to bother thanking him, just keep being good little bait, so he can shine even brighter. And in that moment, Debo realizes this is Ralph's true power. He hates to admit it, but a 3-circle user is on a whole different level. Ralph keeps tearing through the monsters. They try to put up a fight, but he dodges effortlessly. His movements are erratic. But that's it. He's definitely superior to the other 2. But then he considers Palm, who controls his fire arrow against Nessie. It makes sense why the Kenya Merchant Union is interested in his skills. He might not know about boss fights, but Palme's normal hunting speed is faster than his own. The guy is an absolute beast. A monster lunges at Ralph, and he throws a punch, but the creature dodges and attacks. Even so, Ralph just keeps on smiling, winding up for another hit. He thinks to himself, Palme is definitely useful. A contract fee of 50,000 isn't something just anyone could demand, and seeing how the Merchant Union treats him, they'll probably pay him even more in the future. He can already see himself sitting on a mountain of cash after taking this party for himself. Lost in his own greedy fantasy, he starts cackling behind them. Someone notices that the monstrous bastard is going all out. He's definitely enjoying this. As he keeps killing, he thinks about how exciting this is. But before he can make another move, he gets a massive kick to the side. It's Palm, sending him flying. Ralph yells, asking what the hell that was for and if he's looking for a fight, but Palm just says not to thank him. As more monsters charge, Ralph demands to know what he's doing. But then, a bolt of lightning from nowhere incinerates the very monsters Ralph was about to kill. "What was that just now?" he yells. When they look, they realize someone else is firing brilliant flashes of light at them. The main character realizes the attack came from behind. Another arrow flies, killing the monsters in its path as it zeroes in on him. He dives behind a dead monster, using the opening to prepare his own arrow. Since the enemy just attacked, now is his chance. From a distance, the assassin realizes what the boy is planning, but it's too late. The hero's fire arrow is already at point-blank range. A massive explosion rips through the forest. Ralph realizes he blocked the attack using mana and countered. The idea and its execution were completely insane. Debo tells him to look out. The protagonist asks what it is, and as he turns, he sees a volley of arrows flying at him from behind. The explosion hits, and Debo screams his name, but the main character, though injured, is still standing. The attacker is shocked, wondering how he's still alive, and how he's being attacked from behind. Kier screams for Palme to retreat, saying it's too dangerous, but Ralph just scoffs at the idea of running. However, before anyone can move, a rain of arrows pours down from the sky, aiming to kill them all. Ralph yells, "And where are we supposed to go in all this chaos?" With arrows falling like rain, everyone starts to run for their lives, but many are struck down where they stand. Even Kier is almost hit, but she uses her solar cut to save herself and another girl. She asks what everyone is doing, telling them to run for the forest if they want to live, but they shout back that they would have already, but enemies are waiting there for them. How are they supposed to get through? Just then, the main character uses his magic to blast open a path. Ralph immediately bolts, shouting that he's going first. Kier yells at them to stop wasting time and move, rushing through the gap he created, but the arrows just keep on coming. Debo cries out that at this rate, they're all gonna die, so the protagonist fires his own fire arrow backward, trying to block the enemy's line of sight. He turns to Debo and tells him to listen closely. At that, the person attacking them realizes the main character pinpointed her location in an instant. She thinks that Evolok's worries weren't unfounded after all. She silently apologizes to Palm, but says her goodbyes as she takes aim at the running hero with everything she's got. But her arrows fly toward him and somehow miss. The assassin wonders how a mage can be that fast. Something feels wrong. There were 6 of them, but one has disappeared. Only now does she realize the axe wielder is gone. Just then, an explosion erupts right behind her. She's startled, with no time to escape. It's Palme, holding Debo's axe and unleashing his magic. And this time, he thinks, he saw it connect with his own 2 eyes. Meanwhile, Debo, wearing the protagonist's cloak and holding his staff, sees that the disguise swap worked perfectly. It's all thanks to the great Debo for buying them time. But then, an arrow pierces his stomach, and he collapses. Something is wrong. The protagonist feels it too, but there's no time to think. The arrows keep raining down on everyone. Kier grabs the fallen Debo to carry him to safety, but as she yells for everyone to run, an arrow hits her in the leg. She falls with Debo as the next volley closes in, but Ralph shouts for them to look out. He actually comes back for them, complaining that he's acting like a father when he doesn't even have kids. What a pain. They can only stare, completely shocked that Ralph returned. The assassin tells them to run wherever they want because they'll never escape his ultimate reach. But as he aims, he realizes something's wrong. Debo admits he has no clue either, but screams at Ralph to just shut up and run like the boss told them. Ralph fires back that he can barely even stand, yet he's still trying to act tough. They end up sprinting too far, bursting out of the forest. And when they look up, they see the second portal. It seems impossible. Could that monster Palm have known where it was this whole time? But Ralph declares they're saved thanks to him. The enemy is roughly 100 meters away. At this range, they can make it to the portal faster than his arrows can fly. Debo yells for him to wait, shocked that Ralph is actually thinking of ditching their leader. Ralph just asks if this isn't what he wanted, since the boss sent them here anyway. He decides they'll go through first and wait for that madman on the other side. But this time, the arrows fly from the front. They all go down in an instant, and Debo collapses to the ground. Ralph screams, trying to figure out what just happened. How did the attack come from ahead? Did the assassin somehow get in front of them in that short amount of time? Suddenly, another volley of arrows rains down on his body. But an axe flies through the air, stopping the deadly shafts just before they hit Ralph. He's stunned, and so is Debo, who recognizes the chief's axe. They realize, in that moment, he knew this would happen. He was always going to save them. However, the main character's method for saving them is a little unconventional. A gigantic tree trunk comes flying towards the 3 of them. Debo instantly sees the crazy plan as they're all swept into the second portal by one hell of a swing. And just like that, they finally escape. The assassin is left completely speechless, realizing the protagonist is truly an absolute madman. In the aftermath, the assassin continues killing anything that moves, but his arrows only find and kill another void worm. As one more monster falls, he grows frustrated. Why isn't he moving? He wonders if Palme is trying to lure him into a trap while hiding. He scoffs, finding the whole thing pathetic, but continues his hunt. He mutters that it's fine. He'll play along for now. He wants to see just how long Palme can survive like this. It's explained that 13 years ago, after being taken in by his master VK, a selection match was held. 300 assassins would fight until only 5 remained. And the assassin who I thought was a girl until now is actually a guy reveals that for 7 days, as they brutally killed one another, no one was ever able to detect him. For this, Master VK rewarded him with the title of Ghost. But just then, he's startled, whipping his head to the side and firing an arrow. It's just another useless beast. But then, an arrow from the main character rips through the air, blowing a hole in a tree right next to his head. He's shaken by the attack, admitting the kid isn't half bad. He quickly flees from his spot, dashing to another location. He lands behind another tree, thinking that with that last attack, Palme revealed his position. He fires a volley of arrows where he thinks Palme is hiding, but hits nothing. Then, another of Palme's arrows curves through the air, almost hitting him. He grows more and more shocked, wondering if this monster used telekinesis to trick him into revealing the wrong location. He realizes the kid is a damn demon, dropping to the ground and vanishing as fast as he can. But 2 more of the main character's arrows begin to zigzag through the forest, homing in on the assassin. The ghost spins around and fires his own arrow to intercept the attack, desperate to stop it before he gets hit. The impact creates a blinding flash of fire. But another of the protagonist's arrows comes from behind, nearly piercing him. He turns just in time to fire another shot, but the explosion catches him in its blast, sending him flying. He thinks about Palme, admitting that the kid is on another level. He's already trembling in pain from being thrown around by the inferno. But as he gets to his feet, he thinks, this is getting interesting. However, he suddenly inhales a strange type of smoke. Elsewhere, Palm notices everything has gone quiet. He wonders if the assassin decided to hide, thinking it's going to be annoying. The guy's stealth level is so incredible that he can't sense his presence at all. He's certain no one this skilled was in this portal during his previous life. He must be an assassin sent by the Kenya Merchant Union. That means the future might have changed because he took part in the 100-person portal raid. Just then, a voice screams for Palme to show himself, shocking him. The assassin is on the complete other side. The ghost yells that they're just wasting each other's time, and he knows Palm is aware of it too. So why doesn't he stop hiding like a rat and fight like a real man? He says he heard rumors Palm was acting like some overconfident adventurer and asks if it was all just a lie. The main character just stares, trying to process this. He wonders how he got over there. It's impossible to cover that distance without making a sound. Did he teleport? Unless he used the quiver flow skill, there's just no way. But then, the ghost realizes the kid is right there behind him, but his arrows are coming from a completely different direction, a location totally opposite from where the protagonist is looking. He's left more stunned than ever by this impossible attack. Meanwhile, in the vast emptiness, a portal spits out the 3 members of the main character's team. Debo realizes the chief left them all alone, but Rolf asks who said that's his problem, questioning why he's complaining to him. Debo starts cussing Rolf out, asking what he can possibly do by himself. Ralph just says he's sure their leader stayed behind for a reason. Then he notices something in the surrounding area. A skull. He wonders what this is all about. This is supposed to be a 3-mark portal, after all. So why are there so many corpses lying around? He says you'd only expect to see something like this in a portal with 100 marks. And then, it finally clicks. He realizes those bastards from Kenya must have set this whole thing up. The random recruitment offer, the chase in the first portal, and now a body count that completely contradicts the portal's rank. There's only one answer for all of this. The Kenya Merchant Union is backing the necromancer. Debo asks if he's serious, and he confirms it. They must have lured any adventurers who could get in their way here, and even sent a skilled assassin as the target. He says that's when he knew they were taking the bait. Ralph says they're not just supporters, they're the masterminds, but they'll have to deal with that later because the host of this party doesn't look too happy with the new guests. In front of them, a massive blue monster materializes, terrifying Kier and the others. The creature stares them down, its eyes filled with hunger. Debo asks if that's the portal boss, and Ralph confirms it looks that way. He says Debo is going to owe him big time for this, and tells them to consider themselves lucky, because he doesn't use this skill very often. He then pulls the item from his necklace, activating its magic. If you had to describe Ralph's character in one sentence, it would be a complete and total jerk. He's also been called a piece of trash, and it's said he would do absolutely anything for money. He's a total scumbag. But when you ask people to describe him as an adventurer, they say he's useful. He might be a jerk, but the guy has skills. In fact, He's probably the best three-circle bishop healer in existence. He begins to cast, and a powerful healing light washes over all three of them. Debo is shocked as his wounds completely disappear. He assumed this guy was a viper or some other damage dealer. But he's actually a bishop? That means even without using his true abilities, he was that strong. With everyone healed, he says it's time to fight. This is what they came for. That thing isn't just going to wait around, and the behemoth charges them. So Ralph tells them to at least try and be useful for once. Debo is shocked he just took off, but the monster doesn't wait for their little drama, nearly crushing them all. He grabs Kiri to keep from flying off as the monster's jaws snap shut, trying to swallow them both whole. But they manage to dodge out of the way. Debo latches onto one of the beast's massive tusks and starts climbing its face. He slams his axe right into its eye, tearing it out in a single shot. Then he swings to the other side, attacking with Debo. The monster brings a hand up to the boy, trying to pluck him from its eye socket. But before the totally vulnerable Debo gets snatched, Ralph appears, smashing into the creature's hand. He knocks it away and connects with another brutal kick. The monster tries to hit him again, but Ralph just starts running up its arm. Kiri tries to help, but gets smacked aside. Ralph yells that they need to pay attention, healing the girl yet again. Debo realizes he's not just healing, he's fighting on the front lines. On top of that, his timing is perfect. He only heals them the moment they're in real danger. Then Ralph says he forgot to mention something. The first one was free, but from now on, he's charging for any additional services as he activates his blessing, summoning angels above him. Kiri is shocked as she feels a wave of energy surge through her. He tells them it's 100 mo's per blessing, and that's a steal. The two of them are pissed at the mercenary who wants to charge them just to survive, telling him he can have his blessing back. A while later, they finally kill the giant beast, ending the threat. They collapse, thinking what a horrible fight it was, but he questions it. Seriously? I don't think it was that bad. In any case, it's time to talk about his payment. But then the monster starts roaring again. Debo tells it to shut its stinking mouth, saying if it doesn't, he'll shut it for good. But the monster starts freaking out, forming a huge piece of ice on its arm as the Ice King Kong begins to twist and evolve. He can't believe that thing is doing this. The monster really is evolving, coming back to life even more ferocious than before. Meanwhile, Palm is running like hell, dodging a storm of flashing attacks from the assassin. He thinks something's wrong, because he can't predict where the attacks are coming from. The teleport skill a third circle archer can use is called Quiver Flow. But Quiver Flow only lets the archer return to a single, pre-marked location. They can only place one mark at a time, so this should be impossible. Meanwhile, the ghost starts laughing, saying it's useless. Just like he said, he calls him so slow that he's going to die of boredom. But our hero summons a fireball, launching it backward to try and hit the assassin. The assassin screams that he missed again, telling him to keep wasting skills like that and he'll experience mana shock very soon. And the protagonist is truly affected by it, coughing up blood as dark marks spread across his body. The ghost continues the chase, saying he's trying to get through the next portal by using skills as a distraction, while our hero's explosion rocks almost the entire forest. The ghost says it's way too obvious. The protagonist knows he can't keep wasting his energy like this against an enemy he can't even find. He'll be fried if he hits his limit, and he needs to get out of there as soon as possible. But then an arrow hits right where he's running, and he's thrown to the ground by the explosion. He grabs another mana potion from his bag, thinking there's no time to hesitate as the arrows keep flying. He says he'll have to risk it, chugging it down and this time using a huge flaming orb that sweeps away all the arrows coming his way. The ghost screams, calling the protagonist an idiot. But as he stops on another tree, his eyes go wide. Several arrows are flying toward him, 6 of them at once. He's completely shocked by this, and notes that it's the maximum number of skills a third circle adventurer can use at one time. He wonders if he's planning to self-destruct or something, but the protagonist continues to resist the mana curse spreading across his skin, and Palm thinks that if his guess about the secret is correct, he'll force him to reveal it. The arrows slam into the area around the ghost, giving him little to do. He notices that he's desperate, not knowing where to attack, and he's sure of it because he's completely lost control. But Palm launches a fireball in the assassin's direction, who starts to flee, jumping from tree to tree, escaping our hero's attacks. Palm gets more and more nervous, thinking he just needs a little more. And he blows up a large part of the forest with his fire and starts to suffer more and more mana reversal, coughing up more blood with every skill he uses. The ghost thinks it's useless, that he'll never be able to win like this, and says his fate is sealed. The protagonist is on the ground, already suffering from lack of mana. He says he's going to suffer terrible pain as his body collapses from the mana shock. The protagonist spits up even more blood, trembling and almost falling, but the forest begins to dissolve into fire, so he uses one more skill. This time, he finally manages to create something even bigger and creates a wall of fire around him, along with that gigantic circle above his head. And the ghost is startled, wondering what that is. Then the whole forest was swallowed by the flames. He asks if this is what Palm wanted and says it's bad because this way he'll be burned alive. And he thinks that place looks safe, a completely open area, and thinks he needs to get there. But then he notices something, thinking there shouldn't be a safe place. And so he realizes something, and when he turns around, there's something strange. He yells for his other version to come back, because it's a trap. But then that other ghost asks what his brother is talking about. The protagonist then uses his telekinesis. The one who was running away is caught by a rock and thrown away. The ghost's brother quickly uses his arrow to break the rock behind him, also breaking the telekinesis. And his brother is almost caught. But Palm appears through the fire, thinking one is already about to kill that copy. But before the boy could hit him, the copy thrusts his bow into the ground, managing to get out of the way of the protagonist's attack. Then, before he could do anything else, he prepares to hit him with a kick, but Palm gets out of the way by ducking his head. So he thinks he doesn't have much time. He needs to finish this quickly, hitting the base of the shield that was stuck in the ground. This causes the ghost to lose his balance. And so Palm manages to hit him, throwing him away, making him lose his bow. Palm then prepares to launch another attack, and the ghost gets scared. The other, in turn, shoots arrows in the protagonist's direction, who has to get out of the way so as not to be pierced. And with that, the ghost tells Nier to get up and says that this bastard doesn't have enough mana to cast another attack spell, telling him to finish him off. And so, before he could do anything, a dagger comes his way and almost pierces his head, but he manages to get out of the way, seeing what it is. He realizes that he decided to use telekinesis, since it doesn't consume much mana. And that dagger begins to pursue him throughout the battle. But before he could do anything, the other one on the ground picks up his own dagger and goes after the protagonist, wanting to hit him while he's in the air. He's distracted, going after the ghost, but he manages to stop Nia's attack using his staff and quickly ducks. The dagger keeps chasing the other brother, who's firing off arrows trying to stop the damn thing, but he can't land a single hit on the flying blade. He says he's seen enough, pouring in a little more mana. But Palme gets crafty, now using not just the dagger, but also rocks, pelting the archer so he can't even get a clean shot. Meanwhile, he's up against the twin with the dagger, and our boy is giving him a serious run for his money using only his staff. The twin is shocked, wondering how a mage could possibly be so good at hand-to-hand combat. Then, Palme lands a solid knee right in the twin's gut and thinks that he can't stop there. He grabs that dagger again and sends it flying after the one with the bow, trying to kill him any way he can, but the guy manages to dodge the blade every single time. While that's happening, he uses his staff to knock the dagger out of the unarmed twin's hand and gets ready to bring the pain. But then, a real arrow tears right through his arm, and just like that, the archer twin thinks he's finally won. Anir tells his brother he did a good job, kicking Palme away. As our guy gets kicked, he drops his staff on the ground. The unarmed twin grabs his dagger once more and prepares to lunge at him, unleashing a flurry of slashes. He taunts him, saying he can't do much with just one arm. But Palme gets ready to keep fighting, using pure martial arts to block. He parries every single strike from the twin's dagger, never letting it touch him. With just one hand, he manages to disarm the punk, grabbing his arm while the guy is freaking out, and twists it until the bone in the scarred twin's arm completely snaps. The kid screams at him to let go, cursing and threatening Palm, saying if he doesn't let go, he'll get shot again. But our guy just activates his ability again, launching a freaking fireball at himself. And that twin is totally terrified by what he's doing. From a distance, his brother screams for Palme not to do it, but they're both engulfed in the wave of fire. He screams for his brother, Nero, but gets blasted away, slamming his back into a tree. As he falls, he can barely breathe from all the smoke and wonders what the hell is going on, seeing a monodome in front of him. He asks himself where his brother is. They both try to find each other, but Palm appears in front of one of them, dropping down from a tree with an arrow in his hand. And Nier is so done with this kid's face, telling him to just die already. As he pulls off his cape to defend himself, the protagonist pushes through and apparently stabs the twin with that arrow. Meanwhile, the twin trapped inside the dome is freaking out until he sees it start to crack. He runs to an opening, asking what happened to his brother, refusing to believe he's dead. And as he looks ahead, he sees his brother lying on the ground. He begs Nier to stay with him, trying to wake him up, saying they have to get out of there, that they've wasted enough time. They'll just quickly grab the phoenix feather and then finish the mission. But the body on the ground, which he thought was Palm, has something that shouldn't be there, his brother's bracelet. And when he realizes it, he sees that the one on the ground is Nar. The protagonist grabs his dagger and plunges it into him before he can do a thing. And finally, after killing them both, Palmy collapses to the ground, completely exhausted. He thinks to himself that he's so tired of fighting traitors. Meanwhile, at Gate 2 in the Snow World, the other three are still getting their butts kicked by that revived Ed Berserker. It's wrecking everyone, with Ralph getting thrown away and the monster thrashing around, sending people flying everywhere. Debo is already messed up again, on all fours, staring at the gigantic monster in front of him. Then the enormous thing, which has doubled in size, gets ready to crush the kid into the ground. But Ralph shows up, trying to draw its attention to save him. However, the Yeti spots him and tries to throw a punch right at Ralph. But he says the thing is way too slow, slamming his fist directly into the creature's eye. After landing the hit, though, he wonders why this thing is so tough. He couldn't even damage the monster, and the Yeti just smacks itself in the face, crushing Ralph against its own head. He's in a really tight spot, getting squeezed, but Kiri appears, using Solar Cut to slice off part of the monster's fingers. Then she holds out her hand to Ralph, saying that this makes them even for him saving her life once. She grabs him, gets him out of there, and carries him on her back. The monster tries to crush her as she flees and keeps chasing the girl with Ralph. It takes a massive leap that closes most of the distance between them and slams the ground, kicking up snow everywhere. But Ralph uses his heel on all three of them, and they manage to start running again, trying to escape that thing. Then, Debo asks Ralph if he's thought of a way to deal with this thing, because if they keep this up, it's not going to work. But Ralph just yells that it's coming, and Debo doesn't get what he's talking about, telling him to be more specific because the thing is huge. Ralph tells him to shut up and try to get its attention. Just then, he spots a huge greatsword nearby and says they have to get as close as possible to its weak point. Meanwhile, Debo tries to block the thing's attacks with just his axe, telling Ralph to hurry the hell up. So, both he and Kiri circle around the monster, trying to grab that sword on its back. But as they try to climb the giant's body, it starts to thrash around to stop them from reaching the top. And Debo, from the other side, also starts climbing, realizing that it noticed them. He figures out it's not just some big idiot. The monster starts swinging, trying to grab them all, but they somehow manage to get away. However, it manages to land a massive overhead slam, burying one of them in the ground. And the one who falls is Debo. The monster comes in with another blow to finish the kid off for good. Kiri screams for Ralph to heal him quick, but the monster's attack connects. When she looks over, Ralph's in a bad spot. He screams Debo's name, and the monster hears it, looking at them both. Ralph says he only has 4 heals left, telling her she'd better do her damn best to dodge, because he's going to look for an opening. So they have to get ready. As they continue the bloody battle, the monster relentlessly chases them, getting angrier and angrier, and throws Kiri into the air before she can react. Ralph is pissed at her, since she did that right after he told her to dodge. He heals the girl again as she faceplants into the ground. Then he realizes she's passed out and thinks what a waste of a skill it is to save this girl. With that, he starts running, trying to lead the creature away from the 2 who are down. And Debo is just splattered on the ground like a bug that got swatted, basically dead. Then, he starts to remember when he was talking to Palme about advancing to the next circle. Palm told him he already has enough experience to reach the second circle and said it would be better for him to level up in the future. But Debo asks him if he knows what he can do just because he wants to. Palme says that enlightenment depends on how he thinks. Debo questions him about it, asking what that is, saying it's something he should teach him. But Palme explains that it's different for everyone, and even if he shared his experience, it wouldn't be useful. So he asks what Palme wants him to do. Palme tells him he just needs to find a suitable keyword for himself, saying it could be about understanding mana, his quest for knowledge, or even an unforgettable memory. As he remembers this, his heart starts beating faster. With that, his aura begins to explode around him, and all the snow he kicks up gets the monster's attention. And when the monster looks back, Diego has already gone berserk, lunging at the thing. It tries to swat the kid away, but Diego unleashes an explosive slash, severing the monster's hand. Ralph is stunned. He just sliced through that ice creature in a single blow. He wonders what the hell happened to him. Now, 2 glowing circles appear out of nowhere as Debo rushes the creature once more, climbing on top of it. Ralph can't believe it. That brat actually just leveled up. Then, he slices through another one of the beast's eyes. Launching himself into the air, he aims for the great sword stuck in the monster's back. He brings his axe down like a hammer, striking it with full force, and driving the massive blade deep into the creature's flesh, straight towards its core. But apparently, the force he used wasn't quite enough. The monster still has just enough strength for one last move. It leaps into the air, twisting its back, and aims its ice armor right at Debo below, crashing down on the boy to crush him completely. Just then, Ralph appears on the scene. He thanks the brat, telling him he did a good job. He starts healing Debo, yelling at him to get up quick. He uses a super effective heal on the kid, who starts hammering away at the creature. The monster roars in pain from the attacks. This gives Debo the chance he needs to get up and leap away, but the beast sees the boy is free and turns to attack him again. Debo tries to block the creature's attack with his axe once more, and Ralph, in turn, heals the kid again. With that boost, Debo manages to throw the monster back. But the monster, realizing Ralph is the real problem, grabs him, and begins to crush him. The crazy mercenary just calls it a dumb bastard, asking if this is really the time to be worrying about him. And he uses his healing on Debo again, who is already next to the greatsword with his axe in hand, preparing to strike with everything he's got. When the monster finally realizes their plan and tries to react, Debo delivers the final blow, driving the sword deep into the monster's core. When the core finally shatters, they finish off the Ice Yeti once and for all. Or at least, that's what was supposed to happen. The monster starts moving again, throwing Debo off balance and sending the boy flying, slamming him into the ground. It then crawls out of the hole. He asks Ralph what's going on, with Ralph already collapsed on top of him. That's when the monster suddenly turns and runs away in terror. At the same time, the ice encasing his body begins to shatter. He looks back, realizing something is terribly wrong. His hand just fell off. His whole body begins to disintegrate, trembling in fear as he dies, turning into a block of ice before shattering into pieces. And the only one who witnesses the creature's death is Debo himself. Meanwhile, she is finally starting to wake up. Debo notices she's finally awake. They're now inside a cave, all three of them covered by the monster's hide. She asks if he's alive, questioning what happened to the monster. He says that, as she can see, it must be the new mascot for a losing team, because she just needs to look at what's covering her to know what it's made of. Debo adds that he was so hungry he tried to eat the monster's meat, but he couldn't. After all, it's way too tough, and he thinks that's disgusting. But she asks if he was waiting for them to wake up, and he says he wasn't really waiting. He just couldn't find the exit to the portal, and the temple outside isn't helping either, so he figured they might as well rest. Besides, Ralph looks like he's in terrible shape. He tells her he's going to scout the area after the blizzard passes. She should get some more rest while he does. And with that, he leaves the cave for a while. Outside, as he walks, the weather is even worse than he imagined. As he walks, he nearly freezes solid and thinks that 24 hours have already passed. He wonders what happened to the boss, but as he thinks about it, he scolds himself. He can't believe he's actually worried about that guy, until he sees something behind him. A hand, and another monster. He mutters that he was hoping it was him, but it's definitely not the things he was looking for, and he kills all of them. Then, someone appears. Kier notices someone approaching and asks why Debo is covered in blood. He says it's nothing, but she wonders if there are still monsters out there, saying it's too dangerous and she should go with him. But he tells her someone has to look after the half-dead guy over there. He's her companion now. She says she'll go next time, that she can't let him do all the work, but he says it's fine. He should be the one to do this, to prevent her from exploring the same area he already has. He tells her not to even think about wasting her energy and to just rest there. The girl realizes what he's saying makes sense and calls him an idiot. He's just trying to act tough, but he's going to collapse any minute, and then they'll really be stuck. So, Debo keeps walking everywhere, killing monsters and trying to scout the area until he finds himself trapped in the middle of a ravine. He thinks it's freezing cold here, and he still has to fight these things. He tries to kill them all, but an ice yeti leaps on top of the boy, dragging him down below. He thinks that was way too close. He almost died that time. However, he spots a human nearby, but it turns out to be just a body. Seeing that he seems to have died recently, he approaches the corpse. He wonders what this is, noticing a will with him. He sees it's a letter with a lot written on it too. The letter says he entrusts it to the hands of whoever finds it, and that they can also keep his gauntlets as a thank you. And if the finder belongs to the warrior class, they will also benefit from their warrior's mastery ability. As they can see, they fell into the traps left by Kania, and their team was wiped out by the Snow Yeti. The only silver lining in all this is that they found the exit portal. Except, it seems the exit portal is special, and his hunch is that you need to defeat the boss to activate it. The adventurer asks him to check the back of the letter for its location, and he truly wishes him good luck. And if he can, he should deliver the letter to its intended recipient. And so, Debo reads the whole thing, makes a grave for the warrior, and buries him with his sword stuck in the ground in front. Then he walks back and leads everyone to that portal. Once there, he picks up Ralph and starts carrying him out, but she looks back, waiting for the main character. But seeing that he's not there, they cross through the portal, returning to their reality. She asks Kier what they do now, and she says they need to regroup. Neither she nor he knows what to do. But then a guy from outside says he can't believe what he's seeing, and they're both shocked. They realize the ghosts have actually returned. Debo recognizes them as part of Kania's group. He curses, thinking this is bad. They're completely screwed. The guy in the death mask tells them not to worry so much, because they're going to end this quickly, rushing towards the three of them. She puts herself in front, protecting both Debo and Ralph, pushing him back. But another assassin throws some poisoned kunai into the girl's leg, forcing her to her knees. Debo worries about Kier, but another assassin comes from behind, only for that assassin to be instantly killed by a flash of light as the main character's fire arrow pierces through them. She's stunned, and everyone wonders what they just saw. as the arrow zigzags through the air, killing every single attacker that was behind their group. Witnessing the slaughter, they wonder what is happening. And when Debo looks back, he breaks into a huge grin, saying he really didn't want to say this, but he has to. The main character asks, "Did you miss me?" Debo says, "Whatever, man. You owe all of us a drink for being so late." My friend, look at the main character's design. The dude looks absolutely insane. Meanwhile, somewhere else, a guy is petting a purple saber-toothed tiger with demon horns like it's some fluffy kitten you'd have at home. He figures an adventurer of his caliber just appearing out of thin air is absurd. They have no idea about his origins. They're just going to have to risk drawing a little attention. And with that, Beiju returns to her master, reporting that El Paim is back. She asks if they should honor their end of the bargain, but this guy isn't having it. He just orders him to be killed. Beiju asks what he's talking about and tries to argue, but the psycho says public opinion is the least of his worries right now. El Paim's actions are beyond their predictions, and they'll just cook up an excuse later. But she says she's afraid he isn't alone. Her master questions what she means. She confirms that the main character brought company. He's definitely with someone. Meanwhile, Ralph starts complaining about the food he's eating, saying it's bland. But Debo totally flips out, telling him to just shut up and eat. He questions how he could dare to complain when his own sister made it for him. But then Alpha points out that she obviously didn't add enough salt. The girl is all smiles, talking with Kiri, telling her to let her know if she wants more, and Kiri just keeps thanking her. Debo says this is exactly why he didn't want to bring him here, but admits it's better if they stick together. The Kanya Union has probably already heard the news, and this is the best place to hide out and protect his sister. He says it probably won't be long before they're found, even if they go somewhere else. Just then, the door opens. Debo is shocked. Our hero asks how everyone is. Debo retorts he times was times fine, until just now. The main character says he was out taking care of business. They all ask, "What kind of business?" Speaking of business, Ralph remembers he wanted to know if they could settle the payment soon. He says they can put off the whole who's the leader issue, since they all contributed about equally. But what about the 7 million mesos he was promised? Debo gets furious, asking if he's crazy. Does he really think he can demand payment from Kanya right now? He reminds him that he's Times, the one who claimed he took care of the Snow Yeti alone, even though he doesn't seem to remember it very well. Not to mention, while he was asleep, they were searching for the portal exit. And he adds that El Paim supposedly took care of 2 assassins all by himself. But Alf asks in total disbelief if anyone actually saw that happen. Debo thinks to himself that the guy is a real scumbag. Kay asks our hero what he's going to do now. He says Kanya will make another move, and when that happens, they'll do something. Just then, Abbas gets angry, asking how much longer he's expected to wait outside. Debo's sister asks who he is, and everyone is surprised. Kier recognizes Abbas lurking over there. He yells at our hero, "Can you tell the idiot who went inside to hurry up?" A few moments earlier, Lacan had told Abbas to fix the mess he made. He thinks to himself that things are getting out of control. He can't believe the Kanya Merchant Guild found El Paim. They started a portal raid before he even had a chance to do anything. He wonders if he should have made a better offer, thinking he's toast at this rate. But then someone knocks on the door. He's shocked that El Paim returned. "This is a surprise," he says. "Did your negotiation with Kanya go south?" Our hero says they offered 50 million mesos up front for passing the test. And since the raid is over, all that's left is to sign the papers. Abi starts getting nervous. He asks if he's here to rub it in his face, saying he's as annoying as ever. But El Paim says if he doesn't have any offers to make, he's leaving. Abbas thinks for a moment, then gives in. "You win," he says. "I'll give you 60 million mesos. I'm offering more than you even demanded." Our hero, however, just gives him a happy little smirk and signs. Abbas says that now they're officially partners and tells him to get to the important stuff. Then El Paim reveals that Kanya was behind the sabotage of the 100-person raid. Abis is shocked by the information. Our hero then says even the test portal was a trap they set up. They disguised the portal that caused over 100 deaths as a 3-star portal and even sent assassins. Abis is floored by this, realizing they must have contacted him to get rid of the evidence. He starts laughing, thinking about Kanya. He thinks that this time, they'll expose their betrayal for good. But then El Paim asks if that will be enough. Abbas questions what he's talking about. Our hero explains that his testimony is the only evidence against them, and they can always just deny the accusations. Abbas says of course they will, but at least their reputation will be completely tarnished. The other merchant guilds are looking for a scapegoat to blame for the failure of the 100-person raid, anyway. And if they could at least slow down Kanya's business with this, it'll end well. But our hero says they have a way to crush the Kanya merchant group. He says he's not talking about making them lose a little influence as the second biggest guild. He's talking about completely wiping them off the Maple World map. But then Abbas asks what information he's hiding from him, since they're officially business partners now. Our hero tells him not to leak the information about their sabotage just yet. It's better to bombard them with everything they have all at once. Aba says he's right, but tells him to stop the suspense and just say everything. El Payam finally gets straight to the point, saying the followers of the Black Mage have started to move. Back in the present with Beiju, she says it's been a while for Abis, asking what brings him there. He says he wanted to apologize in person. She questions him about it. He says there were some misunderstandings between El Payam and his guild. He explains that he's still young, and he lost his temper in the heat of the moment and came all the way there. But to make things clear, El Payam is an official business partner of the GFO Merchants Guild. He says he wanted to apologize for making it look like an attempt to tamper with their contract. She says she understands, and fears she won't be able to make the payment as planned, asking if that's okay. He says that's acceptable. This is a little off topic, he adds, but I realize the importance of having the right people working for you after this incident, and I've decided to compensate them properly. She asks him what he's talking about. Abis cracks a huge smile and says the GFO Merchant Guild will have skilled bodyguards watching them 24 hours a day to prevent any unfortunate events. He's talking about El Payam's entire group. Since they've confirmed their teamwork is unmatched, he says that means if anyone tries to hurt El Payam's team, they'll have to face the entire GFO Merchant Guild. She is left completely speechless. Later, Debo finds out the kid managed to get 60 million mesos. He's amazed, asking how he pulled off a miracle like that. On top of that, Kiri points out that he also got them bodyguards. The thought that the GFO Merchant Union would go that far is just too much. Ralph loves El Payam's great work, saying his business sense is absolutely marvelous, but the main character tells them to calm down. Ralph says this makes him reconsider his position on the group's value. This will be a perfect team, and will finally get rid of mediocrity. But Debo just says he thinks he's the last cookie in the package. Ralph says it's worth mentioning one thing. There's no bishop like him in Leith Harbor. No. In the entire Maple world. He claims he can not only cast heals super fast, but also serve as a tank on the front lines. They think he's actually really cool. Then he asks about Debo, calling the kid a rookie. Debo gets pissed about that. But then Ralph asks where El Payam managed to recruit a beast like him. He asks about it, and Ralph admits he thought the kid was useless. Until he got knocked out. Then he gained a circle and took the guy down solo, saying there's something unexplainable about him. And Kiri points out that, come to think of it, he passed out against the goblins right before wiping them out too. But Debo says they can share stories all they want. He seriously doesn't remember a thing. The only memory he has is like a dream, and this woman he's never met keeps showing up in his visions. In the dream, he follows her, fighting in all sorts of battles by her side. It's like they've been partners for ages. But weirdly, he can never remember her face when he wakes up. He does remember she uses an axe, which surprises Palme. He notes that in his past life, everyone knew Jill and Aran traveled together. This mysterious power, and the woman from the dream who resembles Aran, might be connected. He starts to wonder. Is he regaining the powers he had in his previous life whenever he blacks out? He questions how this is even possible. Did he screw something up by traveling back in time and completely change his destiny? But Ralph sneers that while Debo's flawless, his intelligence is seriously questionable. Debo gets all pissy, snapping back at Ralph, as if he actually thinks he's just as smart. But Ralph says he's kind of like El Palme, admitting he gained circles at an insane pace and has incredible composure for an adventurer with his limited experience. He says he finally gets why the Gayford Merchant Union is so desperate to keep him. On the other hand, he's not so sure about Kiri. He says he doesn't want to be rude, but he's going to be. Blunt. She's got good fundamentals and common sense, as expected from a former drill sergeant for the Cygnus Knights. For a two-circle adventurer, she's decent enough. But that's it. Nothing about her stands out. And the Gayford Union isn't stupid. They only put up with them for a reason, and they reward them accordingly. Their next move is to deliberately walk into the trap Kia set for them to secure evidence that they really are followers of the Black Mage. And for that, he's willing to do anything. He doesn't care how shady it is, as long as he gets paid. But he's not about to split the spoils with someone who's clearly dead weight. He asks her why she doesn't do them all a favor and go back to the Cygnus Knights. And the girl has nothing to say. After all, he's right. She hasn't really done much of anything so far. Her mind flashes back to her time with the Cygnus Knights. A guy tells her he heard she'd run into some trouble recently. He claims he thought she died in the 100-person portal raid since he hadn't seen her in a while. The girl sees that it's Kaishan. He asks if she's going to see the master, and she says yes. He then scoffs that she wanted to join some adventurer's party, calling it absolutely ridiculous. But maybe, he adds, it's more her speed. And maybe it's the only way to save the master's reputation, or the knight's. As he walks away, he reminds her that her master should be in his office. The girl is left looking like crap after hearing all that. She really does go to her master, who asks if she wants to resign her post. He asks what's happening, wondering if he misjudged her character. She apologizes to her master, saying she can't tell him the details at the moment, but she will when the time is right. But he questions this right time. looking her over. He says, all right, then declares that them making her join this adventurer's party will be part of her secret mission. He only asks that she come back and report directly to him every 3 weeks. He tells her not to forget it, because she is still his pupil and a Cygnus Knight until the day she ceases to exist. I'm starting to think this guy isn't well-intentioned, you know? I'm just keeping that in the back of my mind. So she says she knows how useless it sounds, but the Black Mage's followers have also infiltrated their forces. She can't go back to her master until she has something to report, and she says she's not staying for the money, just asking them to give her a little time, promising she'll improve and asking to stay. Palmy gives a little smile while Ralph says she's way too naive and it's making him laugh, telling her to get lost before he forces her out. But then Palme asks how determined he is, and they all look surprised. Ralph tells him not to say that the boy was being serious. Palme says that knowing Kiri, she would probably ask in all the wrong places to find the followers, and that would certainly make things difficult for them. Besides, he says to Ralph, he keeps talking about being skilled, so he wants to tell him something. He says Ralph seems pretty proud of the little skills he has, but he's not the only one disappointed with the group members. He sent them to the second portal first because he had faith they would easily take care of the boss there. But it turned out they would have been wiped out if it weren't for Debo. But he says they didn't fight an ordinary beast, saying Palm wouldn't know. He asks about the Snow Yeti, saying he's hunted a Snow Yeti by himself in the past, leaving all of them surprised and telling him to stop being ridiculous. So he says that although it was in his past life, in fact, he was really planning to take care of the monster by himself. But the assassin sent by the Khania Union was much stronger than he expected, so he had no choice but to change his plans. And both his group members and he were at a disadvantage. But Ralph doesn't believe the kid, saying he was just a slave before being hired by the Gayford Union. However, Palme gets serious with him, saying that if Ralph doesn't believe him, he's always ready to prove it. He unleashes that killing intent on him, making him put his tail between his legs. He says he thinks that won't be necessary, but he asks if Palm is saying he doesn't need him either. However, the boy says that's not it, saying what he wants is for all of them to get stronger together. And they have about a month until the next raid. And the best way to train is to take a good beating. This crazy guy must not be planning anything good. Meanwhile, Beiju says she's afraid things have become a little inconvenient for her master. She says fighting against the Gayford Union will draw unnecessary attention to all of them. But he asks how much she thinks the Union knows, questioning if the failure of the negotiation was all an act. And she says she's not sure, because even her spy didn't report anything related to that. And maybe their executives have information that others don't know. And he thinks about Gayford, getting a little worked up. He says the Union alone shouldn't be a threat, and when that day comes, getting rid of them won't be a problem. However, his biggest obstacle is the Maple World Alliance, and the rest is irrelevant. And it's been that way for over 800 years. The alliance formed between the Cygnus Knights, the Resistance, the Adventurers Union, the Nova, and other groups, with Empress Cygnus as the leader. And since the 6 heroes were sealed with the Black Mage, they are the only threats left. They should be able to take care of the fight between the merchant guilds easily, but he thinks something doesn't add up, asking if he could have really done it with just Gayford's support. And Beiju remains very apprehensive while he thinks, and he tells her to prioritize collecting any information she can about the Gafford Union. And she takes his order immediately, disappearing from there. Then that guy thinks about El Palme, saying he hopes he becomes a worthy adversary. Meanwhile, in a forest, they are all taking quite a beating, with Ralph being thrown backwards. He questions what kind of mage he even is. The protagonist just scoffs, telling them to stop waiting around. Come on, hit me with your best shot, he taunts. Land one clean hit, and we'll call it a day. Alf tells him to back off, but Palm just keeps pummeling them as they scream. From a distance, Debo watches in disbelief. They're so damn loud, he complains. How am I supposed to focus with all this noise? He mutters that he'd rather be doing physical training with them, wondering why he's stuck meditating in the first place. Then he remembers Palm's words. His mission is to draw out the power that only awakens when he's unconscious. He doesn't even know if it's possible, but if it is, things are about to get real interesting. Ralph suddenly screams, "Don't hit the same spot twice!" Listening to the chaos, Debo wonders to himself, can he really get stronger with a bizarre method like this? Later, back at the house, Ralph confronts Palm, asking if he's sure this is the right way to train. Debo just starts laughing in his face. Palm claims he was just taking his circle's level into account for the training. But Ralph isn't buying it, questioning why it feels so personal. Diego just howls with laughter, saying it's even better than before, but then they wonder if it's okay to leave that girl alone. Palm reassures them, saying some guards are watching over her, so it should be fine. He told her not to overdo it, since she'd have to do it all again tomorrow. Debo then tells Palm there's something he wants to ask him. Palm asks what's on his mind. Debo shows him an item, explaining he found it in the portal. He managed to find the exit thanks to it. He says he brought it back, thinking it was right to deliver it to its owner. but there's no information on it, and he doesn't know what to do. And just like that, the protagonist recognizes it. The ring. The Crusade's ring. A memory flashes in his mind. Debo asks if something's wrong. Actually, I have an idea, he says coolly. I'll take care of it. He then tells Debo to get some sleep, because he's joining the physical training session the next day. Hearing this, Ralph is ecstatic, while Debo looks absolutely terrified. Elsewhere, she's still training with her sword, striking tree after tree, clearing the forest around her. Exhausted, she collapses, remembering her sensei calling her useless. The memory fuels her rage, pushing her to get stronger. Meanwhile, Palm walks to a hidden corner and knocks on a door, waiting. But the response comes from across the street. A man asks who he is. He replies, "For now, I'm a mailman," showing him the item Debo had found. The official story was that mysterious criminals destroyed the portal's entrance during an accident. The mighty Merchants Guild did their best to find the culprits, but failed. But honestly, there was no need. The portal simply reappeared near its original location not long after. And once that news went public, the portal destruction stopped completely. He only figured out the truth about the so-called criminals much later, on his own. The real reason behind it all was something else entirely. He steps into the hideout where the man was waiting, his eyes scanning the area. "How do you know about this place?" the man demands. "You have 5 seconds to explain." Several dangerous figures emerge from the shadows. "The Silent Crusade," Palm says without flinching. "A secret organization that figured out the portals were traps set by the followers. You were the ones destroying them. But your selfless efforts went completely unnoticed in my previous life. This time, however, it's going to be different." As they draw their weapons to deal with the intruder, he uses telekinesis to float the ring over to them. "I recovered your lost item," he says, "but it seems you're not in a rewarding mood." A woman starts counting down. The protagonist smirks. "You're all obviously lost. I know the shortcut." But the count doesn't stop. "This won't end well for you if you keep wasting my time," he warns. The countdown continues. He sighs. "Due to personal reasons, I can't tell you how I know about this place. But if you kill me right here, under Eldon City Hall, and your leader Batista's hideout will be exposed." The woman immediately lunges toward him. "Who the hell are you?" she demands. "It's an honor to finally meet you, Starlin," he replies, as she freezes in shock. Though, "It's been a while would be more fitting," he thinks to himself. After all, they were comrades in his past life. Starlin had joined the resistance after the Silent Crusade was wiped out. They fought countless battles together, side by side, until that fateful day. When the dragon swarm descended from the skies, she told Palm, "See you soon," and sacrificed herself to save him. "I'll start by repaying my debt to you," he says aloud. "Let me be direct. You need to get out of Kerman City. The followers have already identified this location. And one more thing," he adds, tossing another item to her. "I found this recently. It had something interesting on it." She catches it, questioning what he means. "If this is some kind of provocation, it's not gonna work," she snarls. "That's for you to decide," he replies, gesturing to the girl next to her. Starlin looks, and her eyes widen in horror. It's the tattoo, the symbol of a follower. The others gasp in shock. The mark of a follower? Why would Kania have that? Starlin thinks to herself that it's the symbol all followers have tattooed somewhere on their body. It's not easily detectable, remaining invisible until mana is channeled into it. On top of that, very few people even know about the followers. She glares at him. "What do you want?" "Because if you say you're here to help, I'll kill you myself." He simply answers, "Information. I need information." With that, the protagonist turns and leaves. After he's gone, someone asks Starlin, "Don't tell me you actually trust him." "Of course not," she replies. "He's more suspicious than anyone I've met. From the moment he appeared, I've been thinking, if this is a trap set by the followers, we're in deep trouble." As the protagonist walks away, she adds, "But maybe we should play his game for a while and find out for sure." He thinks to himself that this was an unexpected gain. He got the information he was looking for. Still, he can't believe Kania was already making her move. He wonders if his interventions have changed her plans too. At this rate, they're bound to do something big. His mind is made up. They're heading to Nautilus, a place that sits in the middle of the ocean. At the port, Debo looks around, amazed. "It's been a whole month," he exclaims. "My body is itching for some real action." Abe's tells the protagonist to choose between 2 options: a 60-person portal with 6 diverging paths, or the 77-person portal in Ilia. Both are high-profile enough to attract Kania's attention. "You've rested for a month. It's time to get back to work." The protagonist says he's not sure and needs to think. Abe's is stunned. "What are you talking about? Don't tell me you're backing out now." "I've already decided where I want to go," he declares. "To the Tomb of the Eagle Eye." Abe's is completely shocked. "The Tomb of the Eagle Eye? Do you have any idea what you're talking about?" He explains that Ken, the captain of Nautilus, led countless pirates under the banner of Eagle Eye. She lost her life inside the Eagle Eye portal, which now serves as a tomb in her memory. Abe's tells him they offered 9.99 million Emmys to clear the portal because thousands of adventurers have already tried and failed. It's virtually impossible to clear that place, he insists. Why would Kania be after it? How did you even hear about it? Just then, Raka appears. Sounds like you're talking about something interesting. Abe's is shocked, asking what brings him here. I heard you were starting a raid soon, and I wanted to give you something. He's stunned that Raka's superior wants to give the protagonist a gift. He hands over 2 phoenix feathers. Consider this a special present from the Garfor group. He admits he has great hopes for the boy. Meanwhile, in the present, Palme stands ready. This meant the pressure was on to clear this raid. But with 4 phoenix pins in hand, it was a welcome surprise. Debo wondered why they weren't boarding yet. The main character said he was waiting for someone. But who? Just then, a figure appeared. Palme called out to the drunkard. Debo noticed the package Boru was holding and asked what was inside. He explained his boss actually wanted them to have it. He couldn't believe he had to deliver it personally, but whatever. He told them to try on the new gear. As they equipped the new clothes, R was ecstatic, saying he'd wear them forever. Kier herself noted how light it was, as if she wasn't wearing armor at all. She asked what it was made of. Boru explained it was from the hide of a snow wyvern, a gift from his boss to be crafted into equipment. Jay's eyes widened in realization. He remembered his master promising to make good use of those hides, so this was the result. Boru remarked they must be doing well for themselves, since they were skilled enough to clear a 100-person gate. But Debo shot him a look, telling him to keep his voice down. How did you know about that? Boru just scoffed. How could I not? His boss wouldn't waste such rare materials on just anyone, but he told them to chill out, promising he was the only one who knew. Then he mentioned there were more sets of equipment. However, Palme stopped him, saying one of the sets was for him. Boru was stunned, calling it too generous and trying to refuse, but Palme ordered him to wear it. Seeing his confusion, our main character told them to hurry up. They didn't have all day. Confused and overwhelmed, Boru found himself unceremoniously thrown into the party. Meanwhile, aboard a pirate submarine, a tense calm hung in the air. A figure approached the deck. It was Mania. The captain greeted her, saying it was good to see her again. She breathed deep, saying she missed the sea breeze as the crew erupted, cheering her return. Her return could only mean one thing. She had successfully cleared the 200-person Orange-class gate. The entire port went crazy. This news would change the meta for all raiders, but her captain told them to stand down. Meener immediately questioned the captain. She'd cleared a 200-person gate, a 74-person one should be easy. She argued her skills had already surpassed the legendary Eagle Eye, so there was no reason to stop her. But the captain's eyes narrowed. Are you challenging my orders? She asked coldly. Then who will be the one to avenge Leia? Do you have any idea how much pain I've endured? How long I've worked for this moment? But the captain's voice was final. I'll say it again. Stand down. Defeated. The girl went to drown her sorrows in a drink. She muttered that the captain would never let her go, wondering if she should just defy her. But a crewmate gently reminded her, Captain Kieran was just worried about her. She scoffed, calling it being overprotective. Suddenly, someone rushed toward them yelling for Mania. You need to come with me. Some idiots just accepted the mission for the Eagle's Eye tomb. She was shocked. That suicide mission? Who in their right mind would go there? It was, of course, our protagonist's group. As they arrived, Debo commented on the bad vibes. Palm reminded him that they were in enemy territory. A sharp voice cut in, You just violated our golden rule. You're lucky we haven't put a bullet through your skulls yet. Palm questioned this golden rule. The woman explained, starting with the written laws. In Nautilus, whoever rips the post from the board gets first priority on the gate. And once you take the job, you have to enter sooner or later. But besides the written rules, she continued, there's a golden rule. You never, ever snatch a post someone else is watching. And the post you took belongs to the whale pirates. Just then, Mina herself stormed toward them. Who the hell do you think you are? She demanded. That post is mine. How dare you steal it? Palme calmly asked why she hadn't taken the job sooner. She snapped that she was just waiting for approval. He feigned ignorance, saying he didn't know approval was needed. I need it because I work for Captain Kieran, she spat. Either way, you can't raid this gate, and I'll be nice enough to explain why. The Nautilus mission board is reserved for pirates. If you're not a pirate, you're not allowed to attempt any of these gates. At this, Debo burst out laughing. Ah, so that's what the boss was thinking. Minner glared. You think this is funny? Give back the post. Debo just smirked. Why should I? He gave a mock bow. It's a pleasure to meet you. We are the Iboro pirates. In the background, their new scapegoat began to laugh nervously. Minner stared in disbelief. Are you serious? You can't just become a pirate. There's a certification process. But Debo waved her off. Don't be so harsh. We're all fellow pirates here. He then gestured grandly to their nervous companion. Surely you've heard of the legendary Captain Iboro, leader of the Iboro pirates? Boru could only manage a pained, sweaty smile. Debo pressed on. This man is a real pirate. How else did we get into Nautilus? And a group led by a pirate is a pirate crew. But another man interrupted. Stop being ridiculous. You just admitted the rest of you aren't pirates. And who are you? Debo shot back. Manhwa recognized him immediately. It was Murat, a man with an absolutely absurd aura. He asked why they were making such a scene. Palme thought on the name, not recognizing it from his past life. He spoke calmly. It's not like we've broken any rules. Murat raised an eyebrow. I'm not so sure. Kieran makes the rules, so she decides. He then eyed their small party. Where's the rest of your crew? This can't be everyone. Our protagonist confirmed that all 5 members were present. The surrounding pirates began to whisper. This was beyond insane. How could a party of 5 possibly clear a 74-person gate? They called it suspicious, to say the least. Murat focused his gaze on their leader. What's your name? When Palme introduced himself, the name sent a ripple through the crowd. Wait, not times that times Palm? A woman asked if he was someone they knew. Another's eyes widened. I've heard about him. If I remember correctly, he's the survivor of the 100-person Red Gate incident. A wave of shock hit the crowd. He was from Times That Times Portal, where nearly every adventurer had died. They realized this group wasn't weak. Debo proudly confirmed it. But the pirates questioned, so what? The woman scoffed. You still failed to clear the gate and barely survived. It just means you weren't good enough. But one of Miner's own crewmates shot back. Why are you yelling at him? None of that was his fault. She ignored him and continued. On the other hand, Mener cleared a 200-person orange-class gate. She is clearly superior in skill and intelligence. Mener herself began to look embarrassed by the praise. Murat cut through the arguments, looking directly at our protagonist. Why don't you just find some other place in Midel to raid? Since you took the post, you get the first attempt, he conceded. You have 69 more slots to fill. Perhaps other groups will join you. Debo tried to object, but our protagonist agreed. This caught Debo off guard. Palme then made an announcement. 100,000 per slot will be paid. However, I'm only taking 10 more people with me. Everyone questioned if he was serious. The pirates muttered that the kid would die anyway. Why not just wait for him to fail? But Mener refused to take that risk. If they just escape the gate to save their own skins, the opportunity will be lost for good. Murat reminded her. And what about Kieran's approval? She looked back with sheer determination. I can't just stand here and wait. I've realized it's much easier to ask for forgiveness than for permission. It's a classic saying, right? It's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission. But who am I to say if that's true or not? Then, she declared to everyone, this gate is mine, and no one else is going to clear it. Ralph turned to Palm, completely confused. What was that about? He had the upper hand, but was only selling 10 slots? This was a huge chance to make some serious cash. They're complaining about losing 5.9 million because they didn't sell the raid spots fast enough. But Kier argues they'd be outnumbered 14-1. He asks if they forgot about the followers hiding among them, but the other guy just scoffs, saying they'll just crush anyone who gets in their way. But our main character knows he can't afford to take any chances. Not this time. He knows the enemy's true goal. Captain Curiel's first protege, Leia the Eagle Eye, was killed in this exact 74-person portal, assassinated by those same followers. Her second protege, Manor, was also murdered there. Shattered by the loss of both her students, Curiel gave up the adventurer life and went into hiding. The followers took advantage of the power vacuum and tore the Nautilus apart. All of this was supposed to happen 2 years from now. But the timeline has shifted. According to the Silent Crusade, money from the Cania Merchant Union was recently traced to the Nautilus. It's a dead giveaway that they're executing their plan ahead of schedule. They have to restrict the number of adventurers to protect Manor. He is not about to make the same mistake twice. He needs to conserve every last drop of his mana. Meanwhile, everyone around Boruk starts trash-talking, wondering what the hell he's even doing there. Later that night, a knock comes at the door. Our MC uses telekinesis to see who it is before opening it. He's shocked by who he finds, and lets them in. It's Captain Kieran herself, along with Murat. He asks what brings them here so late. She says she needs to confirm something in person, and demands he be honest. She looks Palme dead in the eye and asks, "Are you a follower of the Dark Mage?" The question hits him like a truck. How could she possibly know? He wonders if the future changed again, or if she knew all along. If she knew, then why did she let Manor die in the original timeline? Murat sees he's shaken and gets aggressive, but Palme insists he's not a follower. He was just stunned by the question. But Kieran is sharp. You certainly don't doubt their existence, she says. He admits there's no point hiding what he knows. She fires back. Then how do I know you're not one of them? Do you have any proof? Palme says he can't really prove it, but he knows she already has her answer. She knows who the followers are, and she knows what his relationship with them is. Otherwise, he says, I would have been greeted with a bullet to the head, not a question. He asks if the Silent Crusade was the one who tipped her off, noting her impressive connections. She confirms it. The Kania Merchant Guild times are times the followers, and he's their enemy, but she makes it clear this doesn't make them allies. However, they can work together against a common foe. Palm figures that's why she's here and asks what she wants from him. She tells him the situation is grim, and she knows the followers of the Dark Mage were behind the death of Leia the Eagle Eye. The problem is, they've infiltrated the Nautilus so deeply that she can't trust anyone besides a few loyal crew members and Marat himself. Palm is surprised they've already gotten this far, muttering that things are moving way faster than he anticipated. Kieran says her sources told her they're making their move soon, and she has every reason to believe their next target is Manor. With Leia gone, she's become the new icon of the ship. If Manor, the one pirate everyone looks up to, also dies, the Nautilus will descend into total chaos, and not even Kieran will be able to restore order. So she proposes a deal: bring Manor back safely from the Tomb of the Eagle Eye. In exchange, she'll give him any item from the Nautilus's treasure vault. Sometime later, at the entrance to the 74-person portal, Debo is all hyped up, telling everyone to get a move on. Manor heads into the portal with our hero. Once inside, Debo gawks at the creepy new environment. Kier snaps that this is no picnic, telling them to keep their guard up. Ralph is still grumbling about the money they lost by only selling 10 spots. When suddenly, a strange, velociraptor-like monster appears. Debo just scoffs at the insignificant little creature, boasting that he'll finish it in a second. But that's when its mom shows up. The kid freaks out. She's at least double, maybe triple the size of her baby. Just kidding, Debo yells as the massive beast charges right for him. And just like that, the fight explodes. The pirates open fire, gunning down several of the raptors. The order rings out to keep dropping them one by one. A pirate shouts to Gil that the gunfire is attracting more monsters, but he tells her not to panic, bragging that they shouldn't fear these stinky Dracos since he's cleared a 2 to 100-person portal before. He's so busy boasting, he doesn't see one sneak up right behind him. But before it can land a killing blow, a perfect shot from Manor blows its head clean off. She calmly tells Gil he was right and orders everyone to regroup. Stay calm, she commands. I'll take care of the rest. The monsters keep swarming them as our hero's group falls back. Debo can't believe it, wondering where they're all coming from. Then he remembers Palm suddenly ditched them, saying, "Go on without me, there's something I need to do." He gets pissed off, thinking Palm ran off to do something alone yet again. Just then, Debo gets cornered against a wall. He dodges out of the way on pure instinct as a monster slams its head into the rock, dazing itself. He seizes the opportunity and finishes it off, declaring, "All right, we can do this." He remembers Palme's harsh words from earlier. Your teamwork on the battlefield is horrible. Fighting like this, you're just wasting energy. You need to work together as a team. And from now on, you'll think of each other as family. Of course, all three of them were totally shocked and hated the idea at the time. Palme's plan started with Debo. He now tears through everything in his path, recalling the instructions. Charge the enemy formation and wreak havoc. Don't focus on killing them in one hit. Instead, just concentrate on inflicting damage. Keep pushing forward, no matter what happens behind you. Ignore any attacks from the rear, because Ralph will be protecting your back perfectly. In the present, Ralph taunts Debo, "What would you do without your daddy?" And Debo just tells him to shut his mouth. Palme's order to Ralph was clear. You will act as Debo's shield. Abandon your selfish solo combat style. From now on, you fight for Debo. Protect him at all costs. And that's an order. Against all odds, the crazy plan is actually working. They now stand back to back as two monsters approach from either side. "Let's see what you're made of," Ralph yells, as they each lunge at a different beast. But then he's horrified to see Debo is trapped and about to be hit. "Son," Ralph yells, diving in front of him to take the blow. He dramatically muses if this is what a father's love feels like, calling the moment touching. "Can you please stop talking crap?" Debo yells. He remembers Palm's final instruction for their female teammate. Last but not least, your role is crucial. A burn from your skills isn't easily healed. You will use that ability to finish off the creatures they injure. And she puts the plan into practice perfectly, unleashing her solar cut to kill the monster with a single attack. Palm reflects that she's the one who's made the most progress of them all, reaching the third circle in just a month. "Hey, this isn't as bad as I thought," she says, a new confidence in her voice. "We can handle this quick, even as a fresh horde of Dracos charges right for them." Meanwhile, someone is guarding the portal. Action when they spot figures arriving. It's Cadrell, and he's not alone. The guards demand to know their business, saying there's no more room, but Cadrell shoves past them. "This is an emergency. We don't have time to play by your rules." They have to warn Menor immediately. Meanwhile, deep inside, her crew is endlessly slaughtering drakes. Everyone congratulates Menor, but she just brushes it off. That was too easy. Another pirate girl says they've hit the jackpot, pointing at a massive mana stone. Look at the size of that thing. It'll fetch a fortune on the market. Just then, an arrow pierces straight through her. She can't believe what just happened. Neither can Menor. The shot came from Palm, who immediately targets another pirate, nearly killing him before he's pulled to safety. Menor, take out that threat, someone screams. She fires instantly, shattering Palme's arrow mid-flight. But another one flies in from behind, almost taking her head off. Those were magnum shots. Menor whirls around, furious. Explain this now. The main character just smirks. I'm just cleaning house. He looses another volley of arrows. Just stay perfectly still. This won't take long. Elsewhere, Boru realizes he's been completely forgotten. I can't believe they just ditched me, he mutters, especially after acting all high and mighty. Why did they even bring me in the first place? He knows he'd be dead meat if not for a small hole he slipped through. He can't stay here. Once they all escape through the exit portal, he'll be trapped for good. But he's a two-circle adventurer, he reminds himself. He won't go down in a miserable place like this. He grits his teeth and takes off, fleeing from the drakes. He eventually stumbles upon a second portal, wondering what to do. Should I wait here? Suddenly, something pops up right behind him, scaring him half to death. It's the protagonist's snail familiar. You nearly gave me a heart attack. How long have you been there? Boru yells. But in his shock, he accidentally stumbles back into the portal and gets sucked in. The snail seems to pity the fool and follows him right through. Meanwhile, our hero warns the pirates. Don't move a muscle. It won't be long before you're all barbecue. He intends to kill every last one of them. Explain yourself, now, Menor demands. Was I not clear enough? She fires at the main character, but he activates an item over his eye, and a huge explosion erupts out of nowhere. Just then, Cadril arrives on the scene. Looks like we made it just in time, he says, acting like a savior. But then, the main character starts to get back up. The enemy's still alive. Get him, Cadril shouts. So this is how El Palm's group survived a 100-person portal alone. I found out about him and sent you all after him. Menor asks, Kieran ordered this? But the protagonist pushes forward, raining down arrows and picking off his pursuers one by one. What are you all doing? They yell. He's just one guy using rapid shot on Alpalm. One of them thinks he's got him cornered, but a massive fireball engulfs him and two others. 3 down, the hero thinks. But some of these guys shouldn't be here. Did they find out? Suddenly, Menor appears right in front of him, firing 2 quick shots. Palme dodges by a hair's breadth. You're not going anywhere, she snarls, unleashing another barrage. The two are locked in a tense face-off when he finally spots the nearby portal. At the same time, Cadrel yells for everyone to get down as he hurls something forward. Seeing the projectile, our hero uses his telekinesis to throw up a barrier. The shield catches the full force of the blast, reflecting it right back at Cadril's crew and sealing the portal shut. They curse in frustration as their escape route vanishes. What the hell is this? Menor wonders. The main character closes the distance, pressing his staff against her, point blank. She immediately raises her own weapon to his throat. You idiot, she seethes. What do you think you're doing? You better have a damn good explanation, or you will suffer. But Palm's voice is cold. Are you ready to hear the truth? A tremor runs through her. The others are confused. What's he doing? Menor's been taken. Cadril just plays innocent. I was only trying to help. Suddenly, an explosion rocks the area behind the sealed portal. Menor's crewmate panics. Menor, tell me you're okay. Just then, an arrow flies out from the dust, and Menor herself fires, shooting Cadril dead. Why? He gasps. Her entire demeanor has changed. The man who'd been by her side this whole time is stunned. What is the meaning of this? She simply asks. What was the result? The protagonist sighs. I wasted a lot of mana because of your stubbornness. But I was right. They were all new recruits. She turns to Dio. Get the original crew to safety. Those are orders from Kieran, she says, showing her pendant. Meanwhile, on the other side, Boru regrets his life choices. I shouldn't have come in here. Now all I can do is wait for them to find me. He realizes he's in a totally different cave. Please don't let there be monsters. He looks up and thinks he sees an adventurer running toward him. The snail is just floored by this guy's total lack of a survival instinct. Hey, Boru shouts at the figure. I got separated from my group. Do you mind if I tag along with you for a bit? But the snail suddenly tackles him, stopping him in his tracks. Why'd you do that? He yells. What's your problem, you stupid snail? The snail desperately tries to warn him. That thing isn't human. That guy's no monster. Boru scoffs. But when he looks again, a hideous beast is lunging right at him. Hordes of them suddenly appear in front of Boru. This guy is a certified moron. He really should have just stayed home fishing. Back with Menor, Gil is shocked by Kieran's order, his eyes locked on the pendant she wears. Moments earlier, as Menor demanded an explanation, the protagonist asked her, Do you know how Leia really died? She was shocked. Don't you dare speak of her death. There are followers of the Black Mage among your so-called comrades, he told her. They're the ones who killed her. Shut your mouth, she yelled. Do you really think I'd fall for that? But Kieran already knew everything, he said. That's why we made a deal. Do I need to spell it out for you? Their goal is to weaken Kieran's influence by targeting her number 2, you. The truth hit her like a ton of bricks. Her mind raced. Followers of the Black Mage. On the Outer Nautilus, the crew members behind Leia's murder? He then presented a pendant. Kieran asked me to give you this. She knew it instantly. It was Kieran's pendant, a symbol of her authority. She wouldn't entrust it to just anyone. So Kieran really knew. And she was trying to protect me? Then it clicked. Wait a second. The crew members you killed, they were all new recruits. But how did you distinguish them from the others? She asked. The answer, of course, was right there in his eyes. Elsewhere, Starling's crew questioned her judgment. Are you sure this wasn't a mistake? He didn't just know about us. He specifically asked for that item. It makes no sense. We can't trust him. That's the eye patch of clairvoyance. This item allows its user to physically see the flow of mana. And while it's a perfect way to identify followers of the Black Mage, the cost is immense. It constantly drains the wearer's mana. Starling added, besides, no one has been able to use it since Kors passed away. It only activates for someone with the proper affinity. I'm not sure how a caster is able to use the eye patch of clairvoyance, but don't get me wrong. I don't trust him completely, but he seemed to share a common goal with us. And what if it's a trap? Her subordinate pressed. We don't even know who sent him, but she was firm. What's done is done. Don't look at me like that. If his mana is insufficient, he'll die before he can even make good use of it. They'll just have to wait and see what kind of answers he brings. Then he reveals that everyone, except the 3 in front, are followers. The girl is shocked, but immediately decides to make a move. They immediately question him. What are you talking about? You can't fall for that baseless slander. But the main character just smirks. It's the other way around. Dealing with followers has always been annoying, even in my past life, and their tattoos don't show up unless mana is flowing through them. Each follower has a tattoo in a different place, but he says that despite their invisibility, every single follower definitely has a tattoo. Then he says, I get that everyone has different tastes, but on your forehead? He asks if he couldn't find a better place to put it. And the mark actually appears, leaving everyone stunned. They realize this is bad, and without hesitating, they aim for our main character, opening fire and trying to kill everyone there. But then G unleashes his detonator cannon on them, while Menor also starts mowing them down. The main character says he used up way too much mana identifying the followers, and if this keeps up, they're all gonna be fried. He tells them the second portal is close, and they can catch their breath there, but Menor tells him to shut his mouth, vowing to kill every last one of them. However, one of the followers yells at the others to get back if they don't want to die. The hunt begins, he declares, throwing a skull into the area. In an instant, that skull's dark energy begins to envelop both Geo and Mia. She wonders what's happening, realizing it's an illusion, but she can't see a thing. Right before she's attacked, she's shocked by the sudden assault, and the man sneers, just as expected from Menor. You can even dodge when you're blind, but I guarantee your luck won't last much longer, he promises. Meanwhile, Gil tries to call out to Menor, since he can't see anything at all. The man who arrived taunts her. I heard how much you miss your eagle eyes, but don't worry, because you're about to join them. He fires a shot at the girl and tells her to say hi for him in the next world. But before the bullet could hit her, the main character leaps in front, saving her life by taking the shot instead. They can't believe it, thinking, impossible, he shouldn't be able to see. But then they realize he's using an item to see through the illusion. He can actually see the mana of everyone there. Knowing something was seriously wrong with him, they try to shoot him again. They aim every single bullet right at the main character. However, he uses his telekinesis to throw up a barrier, protecting himself. Then he grabs his staff, unleashes an arrow, and uses his telekinesis to kill several of them in one go. The enemy leader notices it's a fire arrow. That's not going to get you very far, he mocks, firing his spike cannon at our hero. But the arrow phases right through the blast and goes straight for the leader's head. As he dies, he thinks, this makes no sense. The others freak out, thinking he's too powerful. But it's just a fire arrow. How is this possible? They desperately charge toward the main character, but he unleashes the power of the 4 phoenixes, this time using his revolver on them, resulting in an absolute massacre. They notice he just spun the fire arrow, and the guy holding the skull artifact is terrified. However, he doesn't have a chance to do much of anything, because our hero appears right beside him, severing the hand that held the skull and plunging a dagger deep into his chest. He also kills the other one who was nearby. Just like that, Menor realizes she can see again. She looks around, but everyone is already dead or dying. The man dying on the main character's dagger prepares to use his final trump card. All for the glory of the Dark Mage. He screams, detonating several mana crystals near them, causing a chain reaction of explosions and blasting everyone away. However, the main character uses his telekinesis to lift a massive slab of rock from the ground, carrying all of them away from the blast. They're all in shock, but the main character admits he's at his limit too. They need to get to the next portal before his mana runs out completely. However, the last follower is still alive, and he rushes Miner with everything he's got, knocking her off the floating rock. They're shocked. The main character tries to catch the girl with telekinesis, but the follower shouts, "Not so fast," and lobs a grenade right at his head, blowing up everything near the portal. The explosion even hits a part of the portal, which seems to just fizzle out of existence. Looking back, the girl is stunned by what just happened. The portal is no longer in front of her, and without an escape route, she's completely trapped. Seeing this, the other followers are pissed that the portal to the second part is gone, and they lost El Palm. But one of them tells the others not to worry, because the portal should respawn in the same area soon. Besides, the real objective is to get rid of Miner. They immediately move in on her, and one of them uses a corkscrew attack, but the girl manages to land a shot on his arm. He just scoffs. That won't work, and uses the Admiral's wings to heal himself. She realizes her attack isn't working. He was hiding his skills this entire time. He tells her she's too weak, firing at point-blank range, but she still manages to dive away, barely dodging the shot. She ends up behind him and unloads her own gun at the back of his head. The shots tear down his body all the way to his feet, and he screams in pain. But while she's clinging to him, the others open fire, so she locks her legs around him in a flash, spinning him around to take all the bullets meant for her. Then, she prepares to keep shooting, firing right through his body to hit the enemies behind him. She keeps dropping a line of corpses, but her human shield is somehow still alive and tries to hit her with a dagger. But Miner shoots him again, right in the abdomen, and then shoves the pistol in his mouth, blowing his head apart from the inside. And just like that, the guy drops hard. She says, "I don't have time to waste. What are you all waiting for? Come on." Then Debo asks what's going on, because more portals have appeared. Kier, looking to his side, notices a few there too, wondering if they all lead to the second part. But Ralph says they must be special types of portals. If what I read is correct, he says, each of these portals is connected to a different point in the second phase. And if a certain number of individuals pass through one, that portal closes, forcing the rest to use another passage. At this, Debu tells him to wait, questioning him. "Are you saying we won't know where we'll end up? And how are we supposed to find the boss?" But Ralph says he doesn't know, and it's not like they have a choice other than to try their luck. And with that, they step through a portal and find that the three of them pass through easily. He says they should keep an eye on their surroundings, because El Palm could appear from another portal. The sooner they regroup, the better it would be. But then he looks ahead and asks, "Who is that?" Debo notices he's running toward them for some reason and wonders if it's their boss. But it turns out to be Iboro, fleeing from those monsters and nearly dead. He thanks them for saving him, but Debo questions what he's talking about, telling him not to come over there. Iboro says the Boro pirates have the best camaraderie, but the kid shouts that he's obviously wrong about that, telling him to run the other way. Meanwhile, he is running from those monsters, arriving at that location all alone. He says there's no chance this is happening, and Gil tells him that these aren't normal monsters. So these things are wearing crew uniforms. Does that mean they used to be human? But Pau's like, who cares? The real problem is they just don't die. He says he even put a bullet straight through their skulls and it did absolutely nothing. Now we're running out of ammo. The main character is totally baffled. He's never seen anything like this. How can a monster not have a core? It makes no sense. He figures if they're basically zombies, born from human bodies, that would explain why they have no weak spots. But none of this lines up with his memories. The rules have totally changed, and he can't figure them out. He has to find a way to take them all down. But then he notices it, a strange thread of mana connected to each of them, leading off into the distance. He wonders just how massive this thing is, guessing its source must be through the wall. Following the mana flow leads him right to Debo. He sees everyone else made it to the next stage too, but damn, he burned through way too much mana. His reserves are hitting empty, and he can't even maintain his skill. Just like that, the monsters swarm him. Dio screams at Palm to get the hell out. A beast lunges, but a pillar suddenly crashes down, crushing it. And who shows up? Miner. Gil's face lights up as she opens fire, burying the horde under the debris. The guy with Gil thanks her for the save, asking if she's all right, but she just glares at Kevin. "Get out of my way," she warns, "unless you want to die." He has no clue what she's talking about, but she makes good on her threat, unleashing an explosion that rips through everything. Palm just stares in shock at the gaping hole she created. Kevin yells at Miner, "You almost killed US!" But she's not phased. There's plenty more where that came from. The real problem? They're running low on ammo. She figures she can probably pop off one more shot like that, if she pours every last drop of her mana into it. But Palm stops her. Wait, don't do it yet. We might need that skill for what's coming next. She's stunned. You're lucky to even be breathing right now. She scoffs. Did you not see those things? We can't afford to be picky. The main character cuts in. We're about half a mile from the boss. Straight shot. There's no time for a new strategy. He looks at her. Just buy me 5 minutes. No, 3. 3 minutes? What can you possibly do in 3 minutes? I'm gonna clear this portal, he says, popping a mana crystal. Meanwhile, Debo is a freaking whirlwind, his axe cleaving through every monster in sight. What the hell is going on? He thinks. He knows they spawn from human corpses, but he's been taking their heads clean off. Before he can figure it out, a monster's hand clamps around his throat and his world starts to go dark. But just in time, Ralph swoops in for the save. Debo gasps for air. Is it even possible to kill these damn things? Quit whining, Ralph snaps. If you have time to complain, you have time to swing your axe. As they fight, Ibaru tries to help, but his shot goes wild, hitting a massive stalactite. It crashes down, completely flattening the zombie. Everyone cheers, calling it a brilliant move. And of course, he plays it off like he totally meant to do it. But the creature they crushed starts to rise again. Only this time, it's way, way bigger. Debo's eyes go wide. You've got to be kidding me. It's the freaking mother. He glares at Iburu. What did you do? You woke it up. So the one useful thing Iburu's done all day has massively backfired. And the poor idiot actually thought he'd made a brilliant play. Surrounded by a sea of zombies, everyone is fighting for their lives. Behind them, Palm gathers his aura, feeling his heart pounding like it's about to burst. He swore he'd never take a risk this huge again. But they're out of options. He's not ready to advance to the next circle. Forcing it now would be catastrophic. But there's only one path left. He's faced this same wall countless times in his past life. The monsters get stronger, but his power can't keep up. Even after reaching the legendary 6th circle rank, the absolute peak, he had to find another way to break his limits. His solution? He gambled it all on mana stones. Normally, mana stones are just for advancing to the next circle, but they contain a monster's pure life force. He theorized he could convert that energy directly into mana. By consuming the core itself, in theory, it would instantly regenerate his lost mana. As long as he could control the insane power surge, it would work. But there's a catch. He has to circulate raw mana through his bloodstream, all the way to his heart. If his body can withstand the strain, he'll succeed. Just then, Minor, mid-fight, feels a chill and whips her head around. The main character nods. You did good. Then he unleashes a massive fireball at the horde. She calls out to Palm, but he's totally transformed. Get ready, he commands. Use that skill from before. She's confused. He seems like a completely different person. Our main character is now on a whole other level. Elsewhere, Kier and the others are holding their own, but Ralph gets blasted back by a monster's tongue. Its saliva melts his arm, and he sees a mushroom sprouting from the wound. He realizes in horror this is how the others became zombies. Without a second's hesitation, he rips the infected flesh from his own arm. Then he immediately starts healing the wound. He shouts a warning to the others. Avoid direct contact with the tentacles, unless you want to end up like one of those disgusting freaks. Debo spots at the boss monster. He can see everyone's movements getting sluggish. At this rate, we're all gonna die. He charges forward, yelling, "Leave this to me! Get to safety!" But they all scream for him to wait. But he knows he has to do times something asterisk. He barrels forward, cutting a path through the horde. The giant mushroom boss whips its tongue at him, and it connects, sending him flying and spitting up blood. Somehow, he manages to roll out of the way just in time, just as the monster is about to land a final blow. He opens his eyes to see a spray of blood. Kier threw himself in front of the attack. Across the battlefield, Palm yells to Minor, "Concentrate. Focus on your skill. I'll handle the aiming." "We're gonna blow through this wall! We only get one shot at this," he yells. "Do it now." She focuses her power, unleashing her crushing bullet skill with Palm's guidance. The projectile drills a spinning vortex through the wall. As it tears through the stone, our hero uses his telekinesis, forcing it to go even faster, drilling even deeper. He fires his revolver into the blast, but it's still not enough. Just a little more, he thinks. We're not there yet. He summons multiple fire arrows, blasting them into the projectile for more force. It carves a tunnel straight towards their friends. But Gil yells that he's out of ammo. Monsters are now swarming both Minor and Palm. On the other side, Debo is trapped, his hope completely gone. But here's the thing, these mindless monsters are basically puppets. They've been tricked by the horde. The truth is, mana strings are attached to each body, all leading back to the true master with the core. That's why they seem invincible. The real target is the giant boss in the back, and our hero's projectile was aimed at that monster all along. It closes the distance and he activates rocket impact. The blast rips through the boss, shattering it and its core. Debo and Ralph can only stare in awe. With the core destroyed, the entire threat vanishes. Minor finally collapses as the monsters crumble to dust. Gil and Iburu are ecstatic. It's over. Our main character looks on. The portal is finally clear. Later, Minor opens up. "We were abandoned by our parents," she says, "and abused by adults. As orphans, she was the only one they could rely on. Leah was like a big sister to us. A hero." The scene shifts to the future, with her sitting next to Minor. "It's already been 10 years since the captain took us in," she says, lost in thought.